if you were watching, you just heard the man. Integrity's astronauts back on Earth. I thank you for indulging me as we watch the last of the incredible Artemis 2 mission beyond the moon and back again, and we just watched them go an impossible speed into our atmosphere and then maintain, it's like 34,000 degrees or something crazy. Like, that's insane. Yeah, we have, I'm told there's an echo. Let me, okay. Let me fix this real quick. Sharing the screen. We should not have an echo. Is there an echo? Looking to see if there's an echo. Let me know in the chat. How's the audio? Everything going okay? Sounding okay? It's okay here. I don't hear anything coming back at me. So I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page, and just completely aghast and just bewildered and humbled and amazed by what we just witnessed. So I hope I'm not getting anybody in the chat telling me whether or not there's, okay, no echo. Okay, great. Okay, cool. So, all right. Man, I'm sorry. I'm a super geek about this kind of thing, and I thank you for watching that with me. I thought it was amazing. So, a proud moment for NASA, for the country, for the world. Like, this is a test flight apparently for Artemis 3, where we'll go back and do some additional work. So yes, I'm the same way, Dave. Like, I get so nervous watching. Like Dave DeJour just said, I started breathing once the chutes opened. Yeah, I'm the same way. Like, I get so, oh God. Like, I remember, like, I watched a lot of these growing up, and I remember seeing some not so great things, and so that those kind of, I don't know, that kind of stuff stays with you, and you worry about it. So I'm glad that this one, everybody made it back safely, and that's fantastic. So speaking of some great folks, we got some great folks already here in the chat. Say hi to Charlie, everybody. Great to see you, brother. And Dave DeJour, as I mentioned a moment ago. Danny Boy's here. Great to see you. General Brian Hyde is here, and of course Brian from Gamesmiths. General Robin has returned after a brief sabbatical. General Robin is back in the chat. Thank you for being here. Paul Vikes is here. So Mr. Coffee, of course, Chicago represented. Very nice. Thank you for being here. And of course, Doug Thorpe's here, and General Tracy Hyde is here, hoping that the capsule has landed. The integrity has returned to Earth. We can only hope. Right? Let's see what we can do. All right, so we've got a lot to get through today, and we are going to get through the rest of the game this evening. If you are just joining us, this chat or this live stream is open to the public, so everyone is able to watch, but this is a member-only chat. This video, this live stream, this video that we're making out of this live stream is the result of some member sponsorship, so we are keeping this chat expressly for them. So I hope you'll understand, and if you want to join that chat, we would love to have you. Make sure that you are clicking that join button and picking the membership level that is right for you, and you too can become a citizen of Board Game Nation. We're excited to have you all here. Yes, Artemis 3 scheduled for next year, Artemis 4 in 2028. Yes, we're hopeful that all of that will happen, so we are excited about that. Yeah, for sure, Dave. I completely agree. All right, so without much ado at all, let's bring on Mr. Doug Thorpe. Everybody say hi, Doug. Doug's here.
Hey, Gary. Hey, everybody.
Glockenspiel. Can't start the show without a good Glockenspiel. That's awesome.
Here we go.
Good to have you. So,
good to be here.
We are. Yes. Everybody can hear Doug okay? He looks good. Looking rested. Like it?
I don't know about that.
You sleep in all day? You slept all day, didn't you?
Yeah, something like that.
Right? Yeah, exactly like that. I know how to.
Something like that.
Yes. And of course, we can't get back into this game without our competitors for that match, our friends from the Gamesmiths. Brian and Adam. Let's get them on here. If I can find the button that does that. There it is. Hey, how are we doing, guys?
What's up, guys?
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, you guys, you know what you guys get? Very nice. They get the applause. Very nice. Very nice. Thank you guys for being here. We appreciate that. Before we go too much further, I've mentioned it a couple of times, but you guys haven't had a chance to talk about it, and I'm going to throw you on the spot here. You have a company called Gamesmiths. If folks were at Battlefront Dayton, you might have got a chance to see some of the games that were given away, but you want to talk for a second about your games?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can see pretty into board games here. So this one's our full game. It's called Six Empires. If we're completely honest, it started off very similar to Axis and Allies years and years ago. 2013, I think, was the first play test.
Wow.
We Brian may remember one Christmas we all got together. It's not just us. We have other siblings that help with this. I sent an email like, hey guys, I have this idea for a game we can play with some Risk pieces. Let's try it. We all thought it was gonna be the greatest game we'd ever played. It wasn't. It was a heck of a lot of fun, but it had some big problems that we worked out over the next 6 years.
Right.
And then, I met my wife, and it was only ever supposed to be a game that we played when we got together. And then my wife joined the family. It's like, well, if you're going to join this family, you should know there's a game, and you're going to have to love it if you want to join this family. She said, you need to publish this. This is a lot of fun. So we did a Kickstarter in 2019, and and we also have an unofficial expansion for Axis and Allies, because we're big A&A fans, as you may have gathered. And it is one of the things that Six Empires started from was an idea of having morale in a board game. So the World on Fire is a set of cards that kind of represent national morale. Things go well for you, you get cards, you play the cards, you get special bonuses. Once you play it, the bonus is gone. So if you remember national objectives from Revised, it's similar to that, except it's not you get this forever. It's I play this card once and the benefit goes away. So you get it once a game, but you do real good, maybe that same card comes up a couple of times in the game.
Okay. I like it. So where do people go to find out more about your fantastic game?
Thank you. That's a key piece of information to share, isn't it? Gamesmiths.us is our website. So, and I think we should probably be clear here. Brian and I both have full-time gigs. All of our other siblings have full-time gigs. This is something we do because we're passionate. We love it. So this is a passion project for us. But hopefully, I think those we're operating at a small scale, but I think we've managed to please people. And I can say, like, one of my favorite memories is taking this at a local convention here in PA during our Kickstarter, and like watching people that had never played it before like stay late after the hall closed to finish their game. I was like, all right, that was awesome. So
that's good
kind
sign.
of why we do it. Yeah
That's great.
No, that's awesome. Well, let's see if we can sell some games today. It's a lot. I've messed with it. I haven't had a chance to play a full game of it, but I think it looks like a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to giving it a try. Perhaps we might see it in action in Dayton in November. That we'd like to get people a chance to give that a go.
Yeah, anybody come on up and beat me, because as much as I love this game, I am surprisingly bad at our own game. Our one nephew is like the winningest player in the history of this game, and I might be the losingest player in the history of this game.
It's funny, then you're in good company, because while I haven't had the honor, I have spoken with people that have, and apparently Larry Harris is also particularly bad at his games. And what I tell people is, like, the guy who invented basketball isn't Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Right? Like, he's not the best basketball player who's ever played. He's a game designer, right? And then it's up to people like us to, like, find the strategies and practice and do the different things. And so, it's like people, I think the idea is that game designers have, like, built some loophole in there that only they know. Like it's a like there's an Easter egg in there that if you just buy nothing but subs as the UK, you're gonna win, right? Like but that's not a thing, right? We
I think, and this is how I defend my poor performance in my own game, is I think it is a like for me, what makes a game fun is an interesting decision. If it's clear that I should buy subs, that's not an interesting decision.
Right.
So I'm going to gravitate to decisions that are hard for me to make. That is the most interesting game I can make. Seems like a lot of fun. It also means I'm probably going to be pretty bad at it because it's nothing but decisions where I don't know what I should do.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. That's a good way to think about a quality game, right? Are all the decisions easy? Well, then it's then that's probably a game that's a lot of fun with like a glass of wine and some friends to like sit around a table and chat and whatever, like sit on a porch. But if you're
some of these games back here are like that and they're a blast, but
I got a
ones
couple
that bring you back are the ones where you're like, you know what, I want another crack at that. I know what I should have done.
Yes.
Yeah.
And those are the games that I think are like the crunchy, right? Like if I'd have played it this way, blah, 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 blah. And like this is why I think we like Axis and Allies, right? Because like even the smaller versions seem to have an endless amount of crunch to them. Like if I play it this way or I play it that way, like it's a whole different mechanism. So I think that's pretty cool. So one quick thing, I want to address a discussion that was going on in our Discord server earlier today. Somebody made a comment that no one under 60 likes Axis and Allies. And I took offense to that, as I am not 60. And neither are most of the BGN, like the average BGN viewer is 37 years old. Right? Our average is 37. YouTube tells me this, right? So what I'd like to do is have everybody in the chat, please tell, I don't want your age. Tell me who was president when you were born. And that will give us all that we need to know. Mine's a little weird because it was Ford was president when I was born. And Vine's right there, chimes in, 37, right on the dot. I like it. Yeah, it's fine. Go ahead. Oh. And unfortunately, my AC is still not working. So if you see me like dabbing, that's why. Okay, Carter. There you go. Clinton, sure. Carter, lots of folks. Yeah, these are my people. I was born a few months after Apollo 17. Oh, there you go. Washington. Thank you, Carl. I appreciate your honesty. Thank you, Carl. Very nice. Well played, sir. Well played. A couple of Reagans in here. So yeah, Nixon. Sure. All right. So I appreciate that. And if you're here, please go ahead and give us a like. It helps with the algorithm, pushes this out to more people. I know that it sounds silly, but it really does make a difference. So if you take a second, hit that like button for us. We would very much appreciate that. And after you have said who was president of the U.S. when you were born, if you can tell us where you're chiming in from, that would be great. I know a lot of these folks are already here, but I already know kind of where they're from. But if you are new here, please let us know where you're from, and we would love to say hello. Danny boy, Nixon. Danny, are you Irish, Danny? I gotta ask. All right. Okay. So, Johnson. Okay, great. Okay, so let's get over to the game. We're going to do a little bit of a quick recap of rounds 1 and 2 before we jump into round 3. We are going to get through this game today. The objective is to still take questions at the end of each round. So you can drop questions in the comments whenever you want, but I'm going to try to ignore them so that I can focus on this air traffic control system that I'm trying to run here. I made the joke earlier today that before it felt like air traffic control. Now it feels like I'm trying to land the Artemis 2, right? Because I felt like screens here and here and here, and I've got like things to write, and it's a lot. So I have to compartmentalize my brain. So I appreciate your patience with that. But again, if you got questions along the way, feel free to drop them in, but I'll be scrolling back through it at the end of each round. Cool. Any questions before we get started? Gentlemen?
Have to stay to the end of the round.
Yes, you have to stay to the end of the round. Yes, please. If you ask,
Nice
yeah,
try.
if you drop a coin. Yeah, right. You got to stay for the whole time. Yeah. All right. You're Italian. Okay. Thank you, Danny. Okay. Oh, okay. That's interesting. Stream settings. Hold on, let me check something real quick. Jamie, sadly, is not here this evening. She is off to visit family for the weekend, and which simply means I might starve to death before she gets back. It's sad but true. I could lose the weight though. It's okay. See some comments from folks that are subscribers. Members. Okay, there we go. I thought I had said it that way. I guess not. All right. Oh. Okay, so here we go. Let's get back into our game. We're coming back into round 3. Let's take a quick look back at rounds. We're just going to look at the board state at the end of round 2. I don't want to go all the way back and do all that. So if you're just tuning in, this is part 2. I should have started with that. This is part 2 of our coverage of the Spring Gathering Final from 2025. This is the final match. Doug and I played Adam and Brian. The bid was the Axis +4. Doug and I accepted that bid, placed an artillery in Burma, and then went to work. We bought a bunch of stuff and attacked a bunch of places, and this is the board state at the end of the round. At the end of round 2, let me get us off the screen for a moment so we can kind of get a look around here. The Americans are clearly setting up for a KJF. They've bought the 2 carriers and then some for the Pacific Theater, though they are still hanging out on that East Coast. They haven't moved out yet, so looks like they're getting ready to do that. Japan also started the carrier, 2 transports, but they've consolidated most of the fleet in C-Zone 62. This is the remainder of what came around from 35, plus the transports coming down, bringing additional units to French Indochina. The UK is building up fast. They did build the complex there in Calcutta, and they brought a bunch of units down there to help with that. The transport did a very sneaky thing that I liked very much, which is to come from South Africa and then come over to the C-Zone right directly underneath India. So they are hanging out down there, giving them lots of fun options. Italy built the second transport and is hanging out in 14, getting ready to cause some kind of mayhem. The Germans have broken through at Cairo, and the UK units that were otherwise would have been in South Africa have moved out and into the Indian Ocean. So this is the Germans are essentially unopposed moving through Africa. The UK fleet that was in C-Zone 2 mostly was destroyed, but the transport survived. At least it does for now. And the destroyer in 12 survived. The cruiser in 12 survived, as did the one that was in C-Zone 1. And they've now consolidated, of course, into C-Zone 10. And so that's kind of where that board state is. The Germans have built 2 carriers, 1 on each round, and they've got 3 transports in that mess up there, along with 4 fighters. So they're putting a fair amount of pressure on the United Kingdom. They've got a big chunk of units in the Baltic states. And they also have a reasonable stack mixed with the Italians in East Poland. The Soviets are playing a fairly conservative game at this point. They're locking down Caucasus, and then they have a lot of land units in Moscow. They've come together and stacked most of the units that are in the Soviet Far East. They're now in Sherbet. And the American bombers, there's one in Avenki, and and the other 2 American bombers have already made it all the way over to Calcutta. So they're already starting to kind of triangulate the Japanese position with all the air units. Gentlemen, anything to add before we jump into round 3? No? All right.
No, sir.
All right. All right, cool. All right, good. So that takes us into Japan's 3rd turn. Let me get my notes up here. Get ready to go. So once again, the objective here is that this is a behind the scenes of how we record our play-by-play videos. So this is not going to be perfect. What you're going to see is sometimes we're going to have to redo things. Sometimes we'll go back. Sometimes we'll flub a little bit and then make something up and carry on and so forth. So this is kind of a behind the scenes of that process. So don't look at this and don't judge me. That's what I'm saying. Okay.
So speaking of which, do you want me to run through J3?
If you are comfortable doing it, that'd be good. You started with
Comfortable enough.
37.
Yes.
All right, let's see what happens.
Okay. So I'm feeling the pressure from the American fleet, the British buildup in India, and these 4 Chinese units that are still in Asia that I just can't seem to kill. So I got to do something about all of this. So my purchase is 2 bombers, a destroyer, and a tank. My thinking is America is going to come and I want to keep them away. And I might be able to use the bombers inland as well to fend off land units coming from my victory cities. I would have liked to have built more land units in Navy here, but I felt like this was the right route to go. For my combat, started making some mistakes here, I think, that are going to hurt me later on. So first of all, I want to get rid of these Chinese guys. So I go in there with 3 infantry, a bomber, a fighter. I want to try to stop up India as much as possible so they don't attack out with all of those tanks in the air. So I go into Burma. And then I step up into Buryatia with my artillery. So I think one thing that I probably should have done here is I should have gone in with more air against the Chinese units. The reason I went so light is I wanted to try to consolidate my fleet and keep as many fighters on my fleet as possible. So I didn't want to land my air units in Asia randomly away from my fleet.
Makes sense. So let's see how it went.
So get Buryatia, get Burma, and 0 hits in Sinkang. And they hit me back twice, so I have to retreat to Ningxia, which leaves my bomber and my fighter out there. Can get them out of the path of those 4 Japanese units. But so things didn't go very well in China. The other 2 battles, one was a gimme, the other was pretty much a foregone conclusion. So that's how the combat went. Not ideal against the Chinese units there. So for non-combat, I want to bring down as many land units into Asia and to cause pressure and slowness coming out of India. I don't want India pouring all my way, and I don't want them to be able to go into Africa either. So bring everything down, all my land units, all of my fleet, consolidate it all there into French Indochina with my 2 guys in Burma and my 1 guy in Ningxia for all I have in Asia. So that's really it. I think that I should have, obviously I didn't know the dice were going to go as bad in Sinkang, but I think I should have taken more air in there because it would have been good to get rid of those guys and kind of assure that battle. The Burma battle wasn't as important.
Yeah, an extra fighter there would have made a difference, but I think it was important to get Burma because these tanks, like keeping those tanks backed up into Calcutta is really important. The trick, though, is that the Americans, in theory, can come out here and blow these guys up and let those tanks come roaring through. But I think the Japanese coming down and making a big presence in French Indochina makes that a lot harder. So I think this is...
So that's it. I mean, I placed my units. I'm not too worried if America wants to send some fighters after the destroyer, have at it. And I collect my 37 IPCs. That's it.
All right. Adam, any thoughts about Japan 3?
Yeah, I mean, it's I think Doug made a really good move going down to pressure India because start of Japan 3, feeling really strong about that British position in India. End of Japan 3, not feeling as strong. So this is U.S. has to react to this to try and pull Japan away because that's going to become a problem quick. I am happy that with the result of the China battle, that's maybe would have been better if Doug had put a fighter in there. But when he made that move, I thought that was the end of China. I think that was a reasonable attack to make, and the dice just didn't favor you. And that is a
So
tough
did
one.
I.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, because those guys in China, it's like a whack-a-mole, and when they get any little break the Chinese get makes a big difference.
Yeah.
They can be tricky to nail down. All right, that takes us over to the Soviets' third turn. They're starting the turn with 25 IPCs. Brian, you want to talk about your objectives here?
Yeah, really, the objectives here are going to be to kind of trade what I can and get a little bit of Russia's money back. I'm not really looking to take and hold anything in force yet. I wish I could, but I just think you had a little bit too much to do that still. Ideally, I would love to be able to push forward and take and hold something, but I don't think I quite had enough to do that.
Okay. Yeah, this line is pretty serious. I mean, the Germans have got a lot that they can come back with, so I can see you wanting to hold back a little bit here. But you've got 25 IPCs to spend. You spend it on, looks like 5 infantry and 2 tanks. Trying to get on the move. For your combat, you're pushing out into Ukraine with, looks like 4 infantry and a bomber. You're pushing into East Ukraine, 3 infantry and the fighter to try to take out 2 guys. Sending just 1 guy into Belarusia to take the unoccupied territory. So that seems like pretty reasonable battles all around. You did have the option to send these 6 infantry over into Buryatia, opted not to do it. Are you still... Can you tell me about that a little bit?
Honestly, if I remember correctly, I think we meant to do this on this turn, and we just missed it. And then we debated back and forth. I know we talked about doing it round 3 or round 4. I think we decided round 4, but I'm also not 100%. It's been a little while since we played this one. Adam, correct me if I'm wrong on that.
I think that was the Gen Con game you're thinking of. In this one, our goal with US, we'd already talked about, was going to be to pull Japan back to Japan. And if that's our goal, putting all those Russians in Buryatia seems like, because we're just putting them in a place where Japan, like we're asking Japan to land there and we're kind of serving them up on a platter if we're going to pull Japan north. Our goal usually with these guys is to come forward when we expect Japan has to go south so that Japan has a tough choice of, I either got to ignore the Russians or be in the position I don't want to be in. So in this case, we decided to hold off and see what develops with Japan for one more round.
I was
right.
hoping you guys would go there, which is why I moved the artillery there. I wasn't just looking for the IPC.
You wanted them into Buryatia here?
I think so, if I remember correctly. Because if India was a no-go, I could go back up there and annihilate them. But again, it's been almost a year since I played this game.
Yeah.
I mean, it just doesn't... I wouldn't normally pick up 1 IPC with an artillery if I wasn't trying to accomplish more than that. That seems like a bad move to me. So that's the story I'm telling myself anyway.
Yeah, sure.
It
Absolutely.
is good bait. I love attacking artillery on the defense. So that's always something. When you see a chance to do that, you always want to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so for combat, you were successful in East Ukraine and in Ukraine. You took both territories. Seems like you took minimal losses there. And, of course, you took Belarusia for free. IPC losses. Axis loses 17 IPCs. The Allies only losing 6 this time. Pretty good round for the Soviets. For your non-combat move, it looks like the bomber is headed back to Moscow, the fighter down to Caucasus. And with that, you mobilize. You've got, again, the 5 infantry and the 2 tanks. You set the 4 infantry into Caucasus and the 2 tanks with 1 more of the infantry into Moscow. Looks like that gives you 7 infantry, 3 tanks, 2 artillery in Moscow, plus the bomber and the AA gun. You're collecting 25 IPCs, and you had saved none, so you end the turn up 25. And it seems like a pretty reasonable turn to me. Any initial thoughts? Anything more, Sharon?
No, I generally do like that line a little better. I really wish I could have held East Ukraine or even Ukraine, but I think you had a couple too many tanks for me to do that. All in all, I felt like it was a pretty good turn for me.
Okay. Well, let's see how Germany responds. Like I said before, we've got this fleet in C-Zone 5 that is creating a lot of pressure on the UK, but it also gives us a couple of other options. Plus, a big chunk of the land units are in the northeast of our native territory. Plus, we're holding Leningrad. But Leningrad does have 2 points of damage to it. The complex in Karelia has been bombed, so it's got 2 points of damage, 1 at a time. So we've opted to repair that damage and spend all 40 of our IPCs to pick up, looks like 7 tanks, 1 infantry, and then we want to be able to put 2 of those units into Karelia, so we repaired that damage. For our combat move, looking in Africa first, we send the tank from Egypt down to Italian East Africa, and then the tank that was in Anglo-Egypt Sudan pops over to French Equatorial Africa and then down into Belgian Congo, picking up all 3 of those territories. We are pushing back against that line everywhere except in Ukraine. So we did leave Ukraine this time. In Archangel, it's 2 infantry and the bomber. Belorussia is 2 infantry and the fighter. And then into East Ukraine with 3 infantry and a fighter. We also send the sub out from C-Zone 6 around to pick off. We also send the sub from C-Zone 6 out to C-Zone 8 to nab that wayward transport. Of course, we were successful in Africa, picking up those 3 IPCs, and we were successful in Archangel. We were successful in Belorussia, but we failed in East Ukraine. We went in with 3 infantry and a fighter, and there were 2 infantry there, and we apparently missed everything, and they hit back twice. We didn't want to risk losing the German fighter, so we retreated from the territory. Total losses this time, the Axis were losing 9 IPCs, the Allies 13 with that transport. For our non-combat move, we moved all the land units out of Egypt and into Transjordan. That's 3 infantry and the artillery joining the Italian infantry there. And so it begins. So the German fleet moves out of C-Zone 5, around over Norway, and into C-Zone 3. It comes up there with 3 infantry and 3 tanks and drops all of them in Norway. We also brought one of the fighters back, I believe the one from Belorussia, out to C-Zone 3 to be on both. So now both carriers will have 2 fighters on them to go with the cruiser and the destroyer that are in that group. Otherwise, we consolidated everybody into East Poland and then into Karelia, which is also where that bomber landed. We mobilize our 7 tanks and infantry. That's 1 tank and 1 infantry and the infantry into Karelia, and of course the rest into Berlin. That's 6 tanks into Berlin. We collect 42 IPCs. We'd save 0, so we end the turn with 42 IPCs. And the reason, so I get a lot of questions about this maneuver, and we actually named it the Picard maneuver because it does something that I think is a lot of fun. And if you know Star Trek, you'll understand what the Picard maneuver is and why this is called that, because it gives pressure in 3 different places at the same time. It's pressuring London, of course, but it also has the ability to drop all 6 of these land units in Archangel, which would significantly increase the pressure on Moscow. But it also has the ability to swing all the way out to Ottawa and pick up this Victory City, which creates a threat that most people don't see coming. And considering that there are no UKC units in the North Atlantic at all, that creates this opportunity for the Germans to jump over there on their next turn if the UK doesn't react. So I really like this move because it creates a lot of difficult choices for the opponents. And I think that whenever you can make your opponent uncomfortable on the board, I think you're probably doing something right. And here it forces them to spend or prepare to spend in 3 different places at the same time, none of which are really offensive. So I like this quite a bit. Let's see how it plays out, though.
This was important because the pressure is mounting against Japan, and things are not going great in Asia for Japan. So that was kind of why, we talked about having Gary doing this and just trying to put that pressure on the eastern side of the Allies, so they may have to spend some money there, divert some units that direction.
Right. I mean, the entire purpose of the German fleet at all is to put as much pressure as possible on the UK to stop them from just pouring a bunch of money into that complex that they bought in India, right? Or to buy, bomber after bomber or a fleet so that they can start attacking other things. This keeps them essentially on the defensive for much longer than they would prefer. So I really, really like this. And I think that it almost can almost entirely neutralize the UK in the game, just with a simple couple of units here and there. And you've got to maintain it, and it's tricky sometimes because, sometimes they just buy a bunch of fighters, and that gets a little harder to deal with. So let's see how it goes from here.
Yeah, I will say that at least at this point, the goal of making us uncomfortable is far and away a success. You can check that box for this move at this point in the game.
Very successful.
I would be curious what you thought when we made this move, because you hadn't seen this before. This is the first time you guys had seen this, right?
Yeah, and this was so we've seen the German fleet many times, and as you alluded to, our response is to buy fighters and eventually deal with it. It's always the sooner the better. You guys have pushed us out further than we'd like already, and you have extra transports, which kind of threw off our dynamic. And now there's this, and it's just like, oh boy, this I have. The threat moving out and projecting everywhere is not something we have seen. I think the instinct as Germany maintaining a fleet is to stay with that complex so you can reinforce. But you can do that. Like if you want to go back and place more fleet, we can't stop you from getting to C Zone 3. You could even go up to C Zone 5. Excuse me. You can even go up to Karelia and use your complex there. So this is not something I'd ever thought of, had ever seen, and it's it wasn't a pleasant move to watch happen.
It's just tricky. It puts so much pressure in so many different places that it's hard to manage. Yeah, I like it. It
went from a British problem to deal with to now all 3 of the major allies have a problem they got to deal with.
Right. All right, that wraps up the Germans' third turn. Over to the UK. They're coming into their turn with 30 IPCs. They use it to build 3 infantry and 2 fighters. They save 1 IPC this time. For their combat move, they've got a couple of choices. They've got the 4 fighters there, but that doesn't seem like they can really go anywhere with those right now, because if they leave, now the Germans can land with a considerable amount of force. So they really can't go out anywhere with those fighters. And 4 fighters isn't enough to go into this German fleet at this point. So they are kind of stuck in this area. They could attack, in theory, with those 2 cruisers, but the sub would just submerge, so there'd be no value in that. But there is some value in the Africa, India, Indian Ocean theater. So what they decide to do is they send the 3 infantry and the artillery from Persia into Transjordan. They bring the 2 fighters and the bomber over, and then all the way up from C-Zone 13 comes that transport with the infantry, the artillery on it, and all hands into Transjordan here. Transjordan's being defended by, it looks like, 4 infantry and an artillery. The UK's got pretty good odds here. They opted, it looks like, not to try to push out into Burma, which I thought was not necessarily a bad choice, but I thought it was curious, particularly when we see their non-combat moves. So just kind of put a pin in this option right here. We'll double back to that in just a second. So that is their combat. It seems like their only combat move right now is into Transjordan. And they are wildly successful. They basically blow up everything, and we missed with all of it. That 16 lost for the Axis, nothing for our allied friends. A pretty big win for them in Transjordan. For their non-combat move, the 2 infantry come down from East Canada. They evacuate Ottawa in hopes of coming back to it, I think. So they get out of the way, preparing perhaps for a German landing. They took the destroyer that was in 32, moved it into 37. The fighter and the bomber, the destroyer that was in C-Zone 32 comes over and into 37, creating a blocker for that German fleet, keeping them out of Calcutta for another turn. The fighters came up and landed in Caucasus, while the bomber came all the way up to Moscow. This is why I think perhaps hitting Burma here would have been the better choice, because you knew you could get another turn by blocking 37. So if you come out here, you can take these units out without risking the Japanese coming through. I wonder, what do you guys think of that?
Yeah, so our thought here was we wanted to come out in Transjordan with as much as possible to try and slow down that Italian push with that second transport. And so we committed a little bit more air over there. And while Burma's been pretty bloody so far, we didn't have a lot of extra air units to spend on that if we wanted to come out with a lot of extra units. Looking back in hindsight, I kind of wish we had split a little bit, maybe sent the bomber and a couple infantry over there. But yeah.
Yeah. So just, I don't know, thought for food. You mobilize 3 infantry into Calcutta, and the 2 fighters, of course, go into London, making a total now of 6 fighters in Piccadilly Square. And I do have to say that I did not see this destroyer move coming. Like, I didn't see that this destroyer could come over here and create that blocker for the Japanese fleet. I thought that was very clever. I didn't see that coming at all. I will say the other way that I thought was going to happen here is that I thought that transport with the infantry or the artillery, I thought they were going to go to the East Indies with the bomber. That's what I thought was going to happen, which would have lured this fleet further south and made it harder for them to go back and get additional units. That's what I thought was going to happen. But
that destroyer is the worst. I'm just going to say it now.
Yes.
That destroyer is the worst. Foreshadowing.
Yes. Watch this guy. He gets the magic wand. Keep an eye on that destroyer. He has a long and storied history. Keep an eye on that guy. Right now, he just saved Calcutta. Because I think Japan may have come over here because the Americans are still on the West Coast. I think that Japan might have attacked here because I think they might have been able to take it, particularly once all those air units evacuated. So that destroyer, keep an eye on that cat right there. UK collects 25 IPCs plus the one they save. They end the turn with 26 IPCs and turn the action over to the Italians for their third turn. The Italians are starting with 13 big IPCs, and they're looking a little thin in Africa. So they might want to think about moving some units over there. We'll see what we do here. We got 13 IPCs. We use it to buy 3 infantry and an artillery. Of course, we want to try to keep our 2 Italian transports full each turn. So this is almost certainly going to be the purchase pretty consistently moving forward. Speaking of those transports, they jump over to 16 to grab a tank. Oh, hold on. Still got the magic wand. They jump over to 16 to grab an infantry and a tank, and then move down with the artillery and another infantry, plus the infantry coming over from Egypt and the fighter to go into Transjordan. They also get the offshore shots from the 2 cruisers and the battleship. I would be curious what the math is here. It's got to be pretty even, right? So
It's 12 to 12 plus the bombards.
Right.
So
you figure we're favored by a little bit, but not a ton. And
yeah,
I always feel nervous like betting on bombard shots because you're like, it's 1 die shot. You know what I mean? To me, it's like counting on the AA to protect you.
It's like, yeah, how do you calculate that? Half of it or something? It's like,
right, yeah. Normally what I do in my brain is if there's an AA gun there, I just add 1 to the defense value. And if you get more than that, you get more than that, but like I don't want to give it a bunch more weight. And honestly, like on offshore bombardment shots, I hardly ever even count them in my mind. Like they're extra as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
But for Italy, they're a big deal, and they're a big deal here. So this is the total of the Italian attack. And we are nearly as successful in Transjordan on the attack as the UK was. So we had a very good round here. Looks like we only lost 2 infantry here, and we wiped out all of the UK units. Axis lose 6 IPCs, allies down 20 IPCs in that battle.
That was big. We really needed that, especially after the butt kicking they gave us.
Yeah, this was big because it creates some urgent need to block in Persia. If the UK doesn't do it or the Soviets don't do anything here, this Italian tank running behind the Soviets is a big problem. So this is something that the UK is going to need, or the Allies in general are going to have to take care of pretty quickly. We, of course, mobilized 3 infantry and the artillery into Rome. And end the turn collecting 13 IPCs. Still in control of Egypt and Transjordan and all of our native territories. Takes us over to the UK, that takes us to the US for their 3rd turn. They are starting the turn with 42 IPCs this time. They used it to purchase a carrier, 2 fighters, and a destroyer, saving no IPCs. American combat. What are they going to do? What do they want to do with all this? They got a bunch going on here. They decide to go at Iwo Jima with a lot, all 3 transports worth of guys, and then they send the fighters all the way across using 3 of the 4 moves to go after this destroyer. And as we know, whenever a destroyer is alone and is attacked solely by air units, it apparently has a modifier of plus 12 because these damn things, I tell you, they never miss, and they didn't miss here because they shot down one of the American fighters. But they, of course, the Americans, of course, were also successful in taking Iwo Jima, but they did lose a fighter in 62 for their trouble. Combat losses, that's 11 for the Axis, 10 for the Allies. And for the Americans non-combat, I thought this was pretty interesting. The fighter that was in India comes around and lands with the Chinese, which I thought was pretty cool. And then the bombers that were in Calcutta swing all the way back out to Hawaii. The bomber that was on the East Coast comes down and lands in Midway. So they are definitely getting ready for an attack on C-Zone 62. And obviously you can see there's 2 bombers and a tank in Japan, so we're going to need to defend that because, you know.
Do something about that.
Yeah, that's going to be a problem. We're going to want to do something about that. And then the sub drops down to C-Zone 52 to create some additional options. Okay. Over to China for their 3rd turn. They've got those 4 talented warriors there, and they sent 2 of them out to go into Hubei and into Yunnan to take those undefended territories. They decided to stay out of Ningxia and instead just take the free money in Hubei and Yunnan. They then mobilized their additional unit. They got 1 unit this turn. They were in control of 2 territories at the start of their turn, so they got to add 1 guy, and they put them in Xikang with the other 2 infantry and the fighter. Back to the U.S., they mobilized that carrier, the 2 fighters, and the destroyer, all of which goes just off the coast of San Francisco in C-Zone 56. They collect 38 IPCs. They had saved none this turn. They end the turn with 38 IPCs. Adam, talk to me about the U.S.'s 3rd turn here. What was your thinking?
Yeah, so like I alluded to before, the main goal is to pull Japan's fleet up away from India. That is we love that destroyer. He's doing great work for us, but he's not going to stand there for another round. So India needs some help. We need a reason that fleet has to be elsewhere. By positioning in Iwo, to your point, I threaten Japan. I threaten landing in Manchuria. I threaten Buryatia and Russians coming in together with me. So Doug has to come up and deal with that. By positioning the bombers where we did and buying a couple extra fighters, that's extra strength to hit that C-zone. So that is going to force Doug to look hard at buying more Navy, which I want him to have to do, because if I were Doug at this point, I want to get more land units into Asia. So I want to stop him from buying as many land units as I can and just force him up there. And we'll see what he buys. He's Doug, so he's going to buy the right thing. But you never know. Maybe you get a crack at the Japanese fleet. The very least, you're pulling them up away from India, and that gives you some breathing space for India to build back up and use that complex to get a little bit safer down in Southeast Asia.
I like it. Doug, any thoughts here? Oh, we'll come back.
Yeah, I mean, you're hitting the nail on the head. Like, I got to do something about that. You got a line through C-Zone 60 to 4 victory cities. You're camping on my capital. I've got to do something about that. I can't. It's not realistic for me to continue to pressure India at this point, and I want more land units, and I don't know if I'm going to get them or not.
Right.
Now, earlier you had said something about Sherbert up there and attacking that artillery. Looking back from this point in the game right now, I question why we didn't do that a little bit here, because that would have forced you to pull some of those French India or French Indo-China guys up, and may have helped relieve some pressure down in India as well, because you didn't have all that much to unload. And then also I question a little bit, looking back, hindsight is 2020, not attacking that other Japanese unit too. 2 infantry. It's a long stretch. We don't generally like going 2 infantry against 1 because it just doesn't usually work out for us, but it may have helped us a little too. Any units we could have kept up.
Yeah, you're talking about the one in China. Yeah, I think in retrospect, I also wish we had taken our shot there, because yeah, worst case, we miss, you hit, and we fall back. But risk that 1 Chinese guy out of what ends up being 5 to get that last Japanese guy in a range of several territories would have been the right move.
Yeah, I think so too. I think sending 2 guys up into Xikang to Ningxia to take that guy, or to at least you'd be favored in that fight. You'd roll as long as you needed to try to get it. But I also think that sending these guys into Buryatia, I think that would have been the better move, because it would have forced, like you said, Brian, it would have forced some of these guys to come back up, because all he's got in Japan is the 1 tank, right? Yep. And he's not going to send 1 tank and a mountain of air units into 6, maybe 5 guys, right? So I think it would have pulled a lot of these guys north, which would have given these tanks a little bit more breathing room. So I think if you'd pushed into Burma and into Buryatia, I think you'd have a big line towards some of the victory cities. So again, hindsight 2020, but this is one of the things that we can do when we can kind of break down games like this. So I think this is a really interesting position.
Yep.
Yeah, as I said earlier, one of the most fun things is saying, I know now what I should have done. I want another crack at it. That's what keeps bringing us back.
Right, exactly. All right, so we've collected that. All right, so that takes us to the end of round 3. A couple of questions in the chat real quick. Are you guys using the new commander cards for a game on a YouTube video? Probably not right away, but I do have a video in the hopper. I've already written the script for it, actually, that talks about the new commander cards and how they can be used, so keep an eye out for that. Did everyone remember to wear exactly the same shirt as last week? I did, but I told them that they didn't have to because the intro for the video will explain how this Frankenstein of a process came together, so it's not that big of a deal, but it should be fine. I think that is our questions here. This is good. Okay, so. Okay. Oh, yes. Thank you, Mr. Coffee. That's a good call. I think I missed a non-combat move here. So didn't I see a couple of UK ships in C-Zone 10 at the start of turn 3? You did. I missed their non-combat move. They moved from 10 through the canal. So they're on the other side. I think it's C-Zone 12. Is it 12? 20? I can't remember. That one that's on the other side of Central America. So they're now on the Pacific side. Both of them are. I think at this point, they're just trying to get away from this sub. I think is what they're trying to do right now.
I don't know. It feels like everything's pointed at me at this point in the game.
Yeah. You ever feel like you're the target?
Yeah. Gary's like, they're running from me. I'm like, no, they're just chasing me.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Which is it?
Right. Exactly. All right. Thank you, Mr. Coffin. Yes, good stuff. All right, so let's take a look at the economics and the victory city counts. At the end of round 3, the Axis have 9 victory cities. They also have 9 on the Allied side. So the victory cities are tied. The Axis are making 90 IPCs total. That's plus 12 from their start. And the Allies are making 84 IPCs, and that's down 9 from their start. So this is a good sign for the Axis. If they are starting to make up for the economic deficiency that they start the game with, then this is usually an indication that the game is going well for the Axis. So I think that's probably a fair assessment. Any thoughts about this, gentlemen?
Yeah, I'd say so, particularly when you're talking round 3 is usually one as the Allies where I would like to be starting to push the access thrust back. That's where I want to be as the Allies. And I don't feel like we're there. We're not pushing back. We're holding, but we don't have any major giant economic pushes where I see us gaining a lot of ground, and Africa's about to get ugly for us.
Yeah, it's going to be a problem. Okay, so now I need to change the keynote presentation. So this is going to get unpretty for a moment.
Yeah, it's interesting because, being on the other side of the table, like I'm feeling a lot of pressure as Japan. I mean, I'm making less than the US. A lot of times I feel like Japan could have more of Asia and be making the same amount. And I'm about to lose Burma and potentially like 2 or 3 other territories. So I'm feeling a lot of pressure as Japan. Gary's obviously doing good in Africa, and that's great. And that battle in Transjordan, I mean, we had to win that just about. If Britain was sitting there with 4 or 5 guys, that's pretty devastating.
Yeah, and honestly, one of the big reasons why that was such a big deal is that it closed the Suez Canal, right? If the Italians can't present a threat this way, then it almost takes half their power away. if they've got some land units that are in Egypt, Transjordan, and then access to the canal, like they can land in Persia, they can land in Calcutta, and it forces the UK to worry about their back door, right? And it gives the Soviets something that they also have to worry about, because they may need to liberate Calcutta if it should happen to fall, if this tank can come through and this comes back around with another load of guys, like they can put a ton of pressure immediately on Caucasus. So the fact that the Suez Canal is open now for the Axis is a significant position for them to be in. So I think that's one of the reasons why this is such a big deal. And closing the Suez Canal at the right time can be absolutely critical for the Allies, right?
Yeah.
All right, into round 4. You want to try this one?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're gonna have to probably hit the slides before I do it to refresh me. I looked at it before, but I didn't have much time.
So yeah, starting with 37. Doesn't look like you've got a ton of combat here.
No.
So let's see. Okay.
I'm basically battening down the hatches.
Okay. All right, that takes us over to Japan's 4th turn. Doug, blah, 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 blah. All right, that takes us to Japan's 4th turn. Doug, why don't you take us through it?
Sounds good. For my purchases, I added a carrier, a fighter, a destroyer, and another tank. I don't know that this was the right purchase, because unless we missed a chip in the recreation, it seems like I have one too many carriers and not enough fighters to put on it. So I'm wondering if I should have gotten another destroyer or something, but maybe I was planning for the future. Anyway, spent all the money, got 37. I would have liked to have gotten more land units, but that wasn't what's going to happen this time.
Okay, hold on.
For combat.
Hold on, I got to fix something.
Screen just went black.
Hey, all right. For combat,
I don't remember what I did. You're going to have to advance it. Okay. Yeah, for combat, that's right. I stepped into Qinghai in order to try to capture that territory. Twofold there. With the attack into Yunnan, I want to get China back down to only gaining 1 unit. And I'm kind of hoping that it forces China to step backwards with some of their guys away from my victory cities, chasing that guy in order to get him from behind the line. And otherwise, he would just keep eating up their land units beforehand. That was a mess.
Try it again.
I'm sorry?
Try it again. For combat.
Yeah. For combat, I send 2 infantry and 1 fighter into Yunnan, and then the infantry in Ningxia into Qinghai. The idea here is I want to take away 2 of China's territories, try to not only get them down below the 4 territory marker, but really make them not be able to just keep marching forward toward my victory cities, but have to get the guy that's kind of behind their lines and spread out and get rid of some of my more infantry units. Then I send the bomber after that transport because I'm sick of that guy. I don't want him going to Sea Zone 35 and picking up stuff and taking the East Indies from me. I'm starting to feel some economic pressure, and I just can't afford Britain going up 4 and me down 4 at this point in the game.
I do think it's interesting that, I mean, I get why, but we also opted not to hit this destroyer.
I really thought about it. I don't know what the math is right now. I don't know if I felt like I needed everything in Sea Zone 62, and if they would have gotten fortunate like I did in Sea Zone 62 and picked off a fighter, if that would have been bad for me. But I really felt like I needed to pull everything up, even though I wanted to go after that guy. I remember considering it seriously.
Yep. Now, and at this point, it's not really a threat, right? Like, there's no reason to go after it because it doesn't. But I'm of the opinion that whenever you can eliminate a power from a theater entirely, it's almost always in your advantage to do it, right? And in this instance, if we'd taken out this destroyer, that meant that there would be no UKC units in this theater anymore. So now we've got the 2 cruisers that are coming over, but they're still pretty far away. So I don't know. Maybe we should have taken the destroyer here. Maybe not. I mean, we could have just sent a destroyer over and all 6 fighters.
Yeah, exactly. That's why
Right?
I don't really know why I didn't do that. But
Yeah. And I seem to remember, now that I'm thinking about it, I seem to remember us saying it at the time. Oh, we should have picked that thing off while we were down here. But I think we saw this. I think we saw this madness and all of the bombers and everybody coming over to party in Tokyo. So, and let it go after that. You were successful in Yunnan. You got the guy, and looks like you took no losses there. Of course, you were successful in Shanghai, and you took the transport out, of course, with no problem. Losses are all on the Allied side. The losses are all on the Allied side this time. That's 0 for the Axis and 9 for the Allies, 7 for the transport, and 2 for the Chinese infantry.
And then for non-combat, I have to pull my Navy back to 62. So I move everything there. And then I also have to block C-Zone 60 so the American fleet can't get through, and hit 61 and C-Zone 50. So I think the reason that I had kind of hoped the Russians stepped forward is because I was planning on taking some land units back to Manchuria. So I would have only had 3 to hit there, but I would have had the fighters and the bombers. So, I mean, you guys make a very valid point. It would have been a major pain to have all those guys sit in Briotia and only hit with 3 land units. But I was thinking, to Gary's point that he just made, if I could have eliminated all of the Russians from this front, that would have been an okay thing for me. But yeah, I would have also lost more land units in Asia. So it's probably best that that didn't happen. Pull the 2 guys up from French Indo into Fukin, and then the tank into Kiangsu, because I don't want the 1 sole Chinese guy to step in there. I want to be able to have a landing pad if I need to land some air there. And if America wants to send air just to get that tank, that's less air that's coming after my Navy, and I got a 50-50 chance of shooting it down. So even though I know they can strafe that guy, I'm kind of okay with it.
Yeah, the one downside of going after this transport was that it stranded the bomber all the way down in the East Indies. Yeah. So it's a little hard to get him back, but he can get back.
But it was worth it, because that East Indies is an 8-point swing, and I can't lose that at this point in the game.
100% agree.
Yeah.
If only we had a transport to hit that bomber in East Indies.
That's right.
Right.
That'd be a kick in the teeth.
Right. All right, you mobilize the another carrier, a fighter, and a destroyer, plus the tank into Tokyo.
Yeah, see, I have 5, right? 5 carriers and 8 fighters. I just wonder if I would have been better off building another destroyer and some more land units. I honestly don't know why I built the additional carrier at this point. I'm not really sure what the thinking was there. It would have been the same defense to add a destroyer, and then I could have gotten another tank, or heck, I could have gotten 2 more infantry. I just feel like that would have been a way better purchase than the carrier.
Yeah, maybe. I see what you're saying. Adam, any thoughts on Japan's response here? Is this basically what you predicted?
Yeah, pretty close to what I was expecting. You know, you always hope to see something shake loose in a big move like this. Doug didn't give us that, but the sub down in 52 was there to take away any opportunities for like a small fleet to break off and try and reinforce somewhere or shift something, try and tighten his options. And there's always a hope that he'll take that and you can hit some small fleet with a sub and a bunch of air. He didn't give us that opportunity. The destroyer in 60 takes a lot of options off the table, and now we're basically in a face-off with Japan, which is what I was expecting. And Doug's buy, puts us in. It's not a great face-off for either side at this point, which is what I was expecting to see.
You know what would have been interesting? Let me take this off the screen here for just a second. What would have been interesting is instead of bringing that bomber back here, if it would have landed here.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah. I thought about that.
Right? 5, 6. It can land in Evo now. So if this bomber had landed in Seakang, is that what that is? I think so. It could have hit this and then landed out there.
Oh yeah.
That would have been great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just if I did my quick math right, I have like a 56 defense and they have about a 48 attack, 49 attack. I think that's why we decided not to peel off the extra destroyer south, because I felt like that battle was already really, really like too close for comfort, and I didn't want it to be almost even.
Yeah, I've got it as Japan defending at 58 and the U.S. attacking with 54. So yeah, you're right. I think it was probably too close. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I didn't want to pull off that destroyer.
Yeah, I don't blame you. But what is important here is that now Japan's attack on C-Zone 59, if the U.S. doesn't move, is still 53, and the U.S.'s defense is 59. So we don't have odds to take that fleet. That assumes that they all come together in 59, right? If this carrier and destroyer or whatever comes into 59 with the rest of them, their defense is too great for Japan to be able to take it out. So it's a little bit of a tricky spot.
Yep.
All right, that wraps up Japan's fourth turn. Let's see what the Soviets have in mind. They're coming into the turn with 25 IPCs, and they are going to pick up, looks like 4 infantry, 2 artillery, and a tank, spending all of their rubles. For their combat move, they are headed into Bulgaria, Romania with 2 infantry. They are headed into Belarusia. It looks like 2 infantry and a fighter. And they are also headed into Archangel, 2 infantry and the bomber. You know what would be really handy here?
The Gare Force.
A Russian fighter would be really great instead of these tanks right here that have yet to attack anyone. That fighter could have just as easily come out of here, assisted with this battle, and then come back. Just going to put that on the table and see how anybody picks it up. You do what you feel. You just keep buying tanks, everybody. Just keep buying tanks. It's cool with me. I don't get it. Moving on. So, again, still opting not to attack Baritia. This now just has to be an oversight, right? Like, it's turn 4. Now that all these units are up here, did you still not want to do this?
Yeah, up there, we didn't want to move in and just let you kill those units at this point. We were still hoping that this might go 7 rounds, but and we may get a chance to still use them. But we did not get a good chance to move them down at that point, because at that point, you're just going to kill them.
Right, but you're going to have a shot at taking out units at the same time. And I think I'd have been in Baritia 2 turns ago, because Japan's got a shortage of land units. And anytime you get a shot at taking those guys out, it's not that they are now going, they get to take them out. They have to take them out, because if they don't, that stack is going to start marching this way, and this is a victory city, so they have to go get it. So I think if you're not in Baritia on US 4, I think you're losing the effectiveness of these guys. That's my opinion. But I drink a lot during the day, so it doesn't really matter. So
I agree. The Brian and Adam a year ago at the table felt differently, but looking at it today, right. I absolutely think we should have been in Baritia.
It's maximum pressure on Japan.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah. Right.
Well, and then not only do you have to attack up there, but you also have to commit fighters and other stuff that you want to use other places. And so,
right.
Yeah.
That otherwise might have been going at the U.S. fleet, right? Or Chinese infantry or whatever. Yeah. As often as you can take options away from the opponent, like all the better. You want them doing what you want them doing.
the game at Gen Con was also very different, and that game was after this. So
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
All right, so how did it go on the Western Front? You were successful all around, it looks like. You were able to move into Ukraine, or I'm sorry, you were able to move in Bulgaria, Romania. You were able to get into Belarus and into Archangel. You took a couple of losses here, but you definitely got the better of it. Axis losing 12 IPCs. Allies losing half that number. For your non-combat, that bomber came back to Moscow, as did the fighter. The 3 tanks moved out of Moscow and down into Caucasus. I think that's it, right? Is that it?
I believe so.
Yeah.
One guy. In
Oh,
East
and
Ukraine.
yep. And one guy moves into East Ukraine to make sure that this tank doesn't get any fun ideas. Or that those Italian tanks don't get any fun ideas. Mobilizing the 4 infantry, the artillery, and the tank. That's 2 infantry and the tank into Caucasus, and the rest into Moscow. That's 2 infantry, 2 artillery. That looks like it gives you 6 infantry, 4 artillery, and the fighter, and then the Russian bomber along with the UK bomber in Moscow at this point. But that stack in Caucasus is looking pretty serious. Looks like that's 8 infantry, 7 tanks, and an artillery plus the 2 UK fighters. So you're in pretty good shape in those 2 victory cities. The UK or the US, blah, blah, blah. What power are we on? We're on the Russians. The Soviets end the turn collecting 27 IPCs. Looks like I'm missing a graphic here. Did I miss it? Looks like I did miss it. That's okay. It should be here. The Russians end the turn collecting 27 IPCs this time. Is that right? They're plus 4 down 2. Yeah, so plus 26. Is that right? Oh, no, they also got Bulgaria, Romania. So they're plus 4, 5, 6. They're plus 6. They're down 3. So they're plus 3, yes, 27. So that's right. So the Russians end the turn collecting 27 IPCs. They'd save 0. They end the turn with those 27 IPCs, turning the action over to the Germans. For the Germans' 4th turn, we start the turn with 48 big IPCs, and we are on the move. We're going to pick up 2 tanks, 2 fighters, and a bomber. We're going to spend all 42 IPCs. For our combat move, in the African theater, we send the tank from Italian Africa, blitzing through Rhodesia down to the Union of South Africa to pick up those 3 IPCs. On the Eastern Front, we send 1 infantry and a bomber over to Archangel. We are just trying to clear a path over there. And we send 1 infantry and a fighter into Belarus, and that is it on the Eastern Front, except we do send 1 infantry, 1 artillery down into Bulgaria, Romania to try to take back some of that home territory. And we send 2 transports over to Eastern Canada to take Ottawa. Now, we dropped 2 infantry into Ottawa and kept 2 tanks on the transports. Now, this is what we did. We've since revisited the rules here and clarified that this was not a proper move. If you load units on a transport during the combat move, it must offload during the combat move or retreat from an attempt to attack, right? So if there had been C units in C Zone 1, the transports could have retreated from that battle, right, assuming that they survived, and the land units could have remained on it. But in this instance, what we should have been forced to do would have been to take, if we wanted to move the transports full, we either needed to send 1 transport over with 2 infantry on it and offload those, or bring an infantry and a tank and land that. So what the illegal part of this move is keeping the 2 tanks on the transports while offloading the other 2 units. Okay. So we
should have taken 1 transport with an infantry and a tank and dropped it there, and then kept the other transport in C Zone 3
As
at
a
this
non-combat move.
As a non-combat, yeah.
Right. Okay. So ultimately, it doesn't make a huge difference to the game because there was other ways that we could have done this. But for clarification, if you see this move, call foul because Gary screwed it up. My bad. So
I'll admit, I didn't realize, I wasn't aware of that distinction. I thought you were totally under your discretion to unload as much or as little as you want.
not if they load during combat. That is true in non-combat.
So
But
if
if
he would have left them on the transport last round instead of
Right.
putting them in Norway, then he could drop off individual units. But since he put him in Norway, picked him up during combat, and moved him and unloaded him, then he can't do that.
Interesting.
Right?
I guess,
Maybe.
yeah, I mean, it does say like you can't move during combat if you're not intending to create a combat from that move. So,
Right.
So that tank has moved
Right.
without the intention of creating the combat. But I never thought of it in this situation.
Right. So at any rate, the Germans are taking Ottawa, Victory City. We'll see how long we hang on to it. As we conduct our combat, of course, we're successful in taking Rhodesia and the Union of South Africa, and they are putting sauerkraut in their poutine in Ottawa. So the Germans have taken control of that Victory City. We were also successful in taking Belarusia and East Ukraine, and we were successful all around. We also took Bulgaria, Romania, and it looks like we took very light losses this time. Make that 0 losses. But we only took out 6 infantry. We only took out 6 IPCs worth of units for the Allies here. So not a terrible loss, but a pretty good round for the Germans. For non-combat, we sent the tank that was in Belgian Congo up to Egypt in hopes of maybe getting it involved in the fight up there. We dropped the fighter and the bomber into Karelia along with a stack of tanks and guys. We also put a big stack into East Poland, putting a lot of pressure now on Belarusia and by extension Moscow. And then we brought that entire fleet over from C-Zone 3 into C-Zone 1. A couple of reasons why we do this. The first is that these 6 fighters are not alone in their ability to reach C-Zone 3 anymore. If we go back, can I go back? This bomber can also reach C-Zone 3. So, and this 1, 2, 3, 4. And if the UK decides to build a carrier in C-Zone 3, these 2 fighters can also reach C-Zone 3. So that would be more than enough to take out and sink that entire German fleet. So we felt the need to get that out of the way. And what better place to put it than Hudson Bay? And we brought all the remaining 2 transports and all of the guys with us. So we've got 2 infantry that are in Ottawa, and infantry and 3 tanks on the transports that are in C-Zone 1 with 2 carriers, with 4 fighters, the cruiser, and the destroyer, plus the sub in C-Zone 8 in case the Americans decide they want to try to build some kind of sea units in DC. What's important to note here, the reason I throw this slide in here, is we're looking at the units that can reach, let me take us off the screen here. We're looking at the units that can reach Ottawa. The Americans do have 1 land unit up here, which I, by the way, did not notice when I decided to land in Ottawa. Kind of silly on my part. But these air units, this bomber, these 2 bombers can all come back and hit Ottawa. So I don't know that we'll hold it for very long, but the objective is to try to divert as many of these land units away from Japan as we can, these land and air units away from Japan as we can. So this is the real objective behind this move.
Yeah, and I'll say on that slide, there are 4 guys in Hawaii instead of the traditional 2. Thanks to those couple extra units we got in the early game, we moved forward to Hawaii a little earlier before we got checked and came back. And I thought I was being really clever, pulling a couple extra guys to Hawaii while we were making that stop. You know, stage them there. There's always guys sitting on the West Coast I never use. Let's get them forward. Maybe I'll use them, maybe I won't. At this point in the game, I'm really wishing I had not done that, and I had 3 infantry up in Western Canada instead of 1.
Yep. That's a fine point. We mobilized our 2 tanks, 2 fighters, and the bomber. That's the 2 tanks, of course, into Karelia, putting those guys in range of Moscow, and the 2 fighters and the bomber landing in Germany. We collect 48 IPCs this time. We had saved 0, so we ended the turn with 48 IPCs in our treasury. That is the end of Japan's 4th turn. I feel good about where we were at the end of this turn. I think we had some targets that were unexpected, and our objective, of course, is to draw as much attention from the UK and from the United States as possible. We're trying to bring all of this attention away from Japan. So I think that our move here was successful in that endeavor. But we'll see what the Americans decide to do with it when we get there. Over to the UK for their 4th turn. The UK come into their 4th turn with 26 IPCs. They spend 25 of it on 5 infantry and a fighter, saving 1. Their combat move here. They are going to go at Transjordan. They've got a couple of tanks in Calcutta, plus the 2 fighters that were in Caucasus and the bomber coming down from Moscow. They're going at the infantry, the artillery, and the tank. Of course, they're favored in this fight, but it has the potential to be expensive for the UK. They're also sending 3 infantry into Burma to try to take out the 1 Japanese infantry that's there. They're big favorites in that fight as well. They opt not to use the UK units here into the they opt not to use the UK units that they move down into DC with the assistance perhaps of some of these fighters, because those fighters would then have to land in DC. So this is the non-attack by the UK here, I think, is the right choice, because if they start to move out of London, we can still get there with a lot of power. These air units that are in Karelia and in Berlin can all reach London. So we can still get there with, 4, 5, 6, 7 fighters, and now 2 bombers, plus 3 transports worth of land units. So this is still a lot of pressure on London at the end of the Germans' turn, even though 2 of the guys have landed in Ottawa. So I think the non-attack here by the UK is the right choice. Doug, what do you think? Am I missing something?
I mean, that's one thing that I like about the move here to see Zone 1 is there's still this strong pressure on the UK. Might be tempting to fly those fighters out, but it could put them in a situation where they're getting hit with, 10 threes, 2 4s, and a 1. That's a lot. So
yeah, that's a lot for sure. What this does do, though, the move to 1 does relieve the pressure off of Moscow. So best case, this fleet can get back to Norway on Germany 5, right? Which means that we're not going to be able to get to Moscow on Germany 6 with these land units anymore. So they're going to keep doing what they're doing. But what this does do is it stops these fighters from going to Moscow, right? As long as there's continued pressure on London, it makes it a lot harder for the UK to do a mass reinforcement of Moscow. So how did that combat go? They were successful in Transjordan. It seems like no one wants to defend well in Transjordan because the Italians lost all 3 of their units here. It looks like they only got 1 hit back. The UK was also successful in Burma, and it looks like they lost no units there. Pretty good round for the Allies this time. Axis losing 15 IPCs worth. The Allies only losing 5. For their non-combat move, they bring 1 of the cruisers back up through the Panama Canal and into Sea Zone 10. And the other one around into Sea Zone 56 to join the Americans. That destroyer that we've told you to keep your eye on has moved out of 37 and into Sea Zone 48. Its magical trail.
Nobody likes that guy.
Nobody likes that guy. Keep an eye on that cat right there.
I think we're pretty big fans of him down on the bottom of the screen.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. The fighters and the bomber that were in Transjordan, instead of heading back to Moscow, they instead come down to Calcutta. And then 2 of the infantry move up to Persia. No changes in the London area. Of course, all those fighters are going to stay put. As you mobilize the 5 infantry and the fighter, that's 3 infantry going into Calcutta, and the 2 more infantry and the fighter going into London. That gives you 7 fighters up there. It looks like 11 infantry and artillery and 2 tanks. Pretty good defense there. Any thoughts about the UK, Brian?
Yeah, I felt pretty good about closing the Transjordan Strait there. I think if I remember correctly, I was even ready to lose a fighter to do that. I think it was very crucial to close that this turn. I do wish I could have gotten some of those tanks down to Burma, but the pressure from Germany has really kept me from adding more tanks down there. It was a very, very well thought out strategy. And I could really feel it in India even from over there.
For sure. The UK ends their turn collecting 21 IPCs, plus the one that they saved. They've got 22 IPCs going into the next turn. But it seems like that loss of the 3 for Ottawa really makes a big dent in the UK's income here.
Yeah, I was really feeling the money. In fact, Russia is out earning UK right now, and that hurts.
That's usually not a good sign. Yeah, two big red flags in Axis and Allies when it comes to economics. If the Russians are making more than really anybody, but if they're making more than
other than Italy.
Other than Italy, if they're making more than an ally or any of the Axis powers, that's usually not a great sign for whichever side. Or when the Germans start making more, consistently more than the Americans. Or if Japan starts making more than the Americans, that's usually not a good sign either. So in this instance, like we've got this what I think is a temporary economic spike because we, captured Ottawa. We're not going to be able to hold it, but that's I think those are 2 really important economic markers as you go through here. All right, over to Italy for their
allies.
Go ahead.
As the allies, you even if it's temporary, you don't like crossing those economic lines and being in this situation. Even if you see a way back, there's not a lot of time left in the game, and this is not the position you want to be in round 4.
That is correct. All right, so allies. What are you called? Italy. On to Italy's 4th turn. They are starting the turn with 16 big IPCs this time. Is that true? That's not right. They collect. Sorry, my notes are right. I just read them wrong. The Italians start the turn with 13 IPCs this time. We spend them all again to buy 3 infantry and an artillery, keeping those two Italian transports full. For our combat move, as predicted, we are headed back into Transjordan. We're going with our 3 infantry, the artillery that we bought last time, plus the 3 offshore shots. We're also headed into Ukraine with an infantry and artillery, with an infantry, a tank, and a fighter. And for reasons passing understanding, we also decide that it's really important for us to have East Ukraine. So we sent an infantry and 2 tanks to try to take that territory. I'm not 100% sure why we thought that was important. I feel like we've made this mistake before. I don't know why.
This happened while I was going to the bathroom, just for the record.
Well,
come on.
I don't know. I don't know either. That seems like a really bad place for those tanks, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's got to be a better.
If you had not taken that, could Russia have covered their front and piled into there and held it, being able to land some air there? Would that have made the difference?
I don't know that I'd have cared if you'd have been in East Ukraine. I don't care that you're in East Ukraine because you're not touching a victory city from there. so I don't really care.
Yeah.
Now,
Maybe
the only other
something.
thought would be that perhaps these 7 tanks were worried about East Poland. Maybe. I don't know. That we wanted to try to close that off entirely so that those Russian tanks wouldn't be able to jump through there. I mean, 7 tanks is nothing to sneeze at. But we've got 7 tanks of our own plus land units, so I don't really know. I don't think this
Yeah,
was
and
our
we would have had 2 more tanks and an infantry if we hadn't moved out of there.
right, right. So
maybe,
yeah,
maybe it was just fatigue, or maybe we're thinking if we open up all the fronts, they just have to keep spreading their men out and can't focus them into one area. I honestly don't remember what we were thinking.
yeah, that's not a
Doesn't
bad thought.
worry.
So how did those battles turn out? We were successful in East Ukraine and in Ukraine, and we were also successful in Transjordan. Again, no one seems to be able to defend this space. I'm not sure what the story is, but hard to defend there. Combat losses, that's only 3 for the Axis and 11 for the Allies this time. Our non-combat move is pretty simple and straightforward. That fighter comes back out of Ukraine and lands in East Poland, and the tank comes out of East Poland and comes to Bulgaria, Romania. Perhaps to be picked up by the transport on a future turn. If we decide we want to move that tank into another place, it can be helpful over there. We mobilize the 3 infantry, the artillery, into Rome, and end the turn collecting 16 IPCs now that we've got control of East Ukraine and Ukraine, as well as Egypt and Transjordan. This is a pretty good number for the Italians on the 4th turn. Taking us over to the U.S.'s 4th turn. They are coming into this turn with 38 IPCs. They use it to bolster, well, I don't know. They use it to buy 5 infantry and 2 fighters. I wonder where they're going to go with those. I guess we'll have to find out. Combat move here. Of course, they've got the primary target would be this giant fleet in C-Zone 62. I think we did a bunch of the math, and it doesn't look like this is closer to a coin flip than I think Adam is comfortable with. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I think that's fair. In a game where I feel like we're losing in the Pacific, I will take that coin flip. But in this game, I feel like the Pacific is the best theater for us right now. And I see some options and some ways to move. And I think economically, I've got a little bit of an edge on Japan. So another round could put me in a better position. I wish I wasn't buying infantry because they're not going to help sink that Japanese fleet. But that's the position I'm in.
Right. So you've got, not only do you have the potential Japanese target, but you've also got these pesky German infantry that are putting their feet up in Canada. So we're going to see what your total combat move is. And it looks like the infantry that was in Western Canada is walking across, and the 3 bombers that we talked about earlier from Midway and Hawaii are also coming across to try to flatten these 2 guys. The fighters stayed out of this battle, though. In the Pacific Theater, the sub comes from C-Zone 52, the fighters from 56, and of course the fighters down from 59 to absolutely ruin the day of the destroyer in C-Zone 60. You were successful in taking out that destroyer, but as we've said, destroyers that are by themselves get a modifier of plus 47, so they seem to never miss, and they did not miss this time. They took that Japanese sub with them. In Ottawa, this was a very, very important role. This might be one of the most important roles of the game. So the Americans, of course, came with 3 bombers and the infantry, but the Americans absolutely had to take this territory. They absolutely had to take this territory. And the fact that the Germans missed with both of their infantry was significant, because it would have meant that the Americans would have had to have taken the bombers as the casualties, because if they don't, all of these Germans land here, including the fighters. And it's going to be much more difficult for the Allies to take this back.
To Too bad you cheated and didn't land a guy and a tank.
I had that same thought. Like, man, I wish I'd had a tank here. We probably would have had a better shot. And one of those bombers there, or that infantry, certainly could have made this more expensive. But alas, we were trying to be cheap, and oh well.
Yeah. Well, I will say I did not like sending just bombers there with just one infantry against 2 units. I mean, you could have got 2 hits and I would have been down 2 bombers. But the credit to the Picard move here, like I had fighters that could hit it and cover it, but they're not going to be back in time to deal with Japan, and that we're already looking at roughly a coin flip there. So if my fighters are out of the theater for 2 rounds, I have to back off, and I can't be backing off at this point in the game. I have to be moving forward and pressuring Doug. So it was I really I couldn't spare the fighters even, and I had to accept that I might be losing a bomber or 2 on this one.
Yep.
Again, if I'd had 2 extra guys that are camping out in Hawaii, I wouldn't have had to stress so much. But I'm glad the dice helped me out on that one at least.
Yeah, this was one of those really small battles that was huge, right? Like this was a big turn. But the Axis lose 14 that time. That's the 2 guys that were enjoying their poutine and maple syrup and got blown up for it by the Americans and the destroyer. But they did take out the sub. The Allies losing 6 IPCs there. For your non-combat move, Adam, I wonder if you can take us through what you're thinking here is.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the state of the board, and I'm not feeling great about betting everything on throwing dice against Doug here. We're too evenly matched. I do have a position, having knocked out that destroyer, that I can go south and block Doug from getting, a little gamey with me, and I have an opportunity to set up for, stall him and set myself up for a really good position for round 6. And I also like that I've got a British destroyer and cruiser helping me because they're in the theater, and if maybe we get lucky, Doug has to either risk blocking with a lone destroyer, which I might be able to punch through with the British, or Brian punches through with the British and then the US can get through, or he's got to spend a couple destroyers in each sea zone for each block, which, as close as this balance is, can't really afford to take that risk, because then our main fleets will clash and he'll be shy too many units for that fight.
Makes sense. So for your non-combat move, that fighter came out of Sikang and back to Calcutta. And then the rest of the fleet comes out of 59, picks up all the land units that were on Iwo Jima, and comes down to Sea Zone 51. This is around the Caroline Islands, which you'll note that this is a non-combat move. They did not take the Caroline Islands. So the Japanese infantry is still sitting there, just surrounded apparently by a wall of green around him. But all of those land units are on the transports. This is an important note here. So there's not a landing zone in the Caroline Islands. Okay, they still got the they now have 4 carriers in this group, because the carrier came down from 56. And those bombers, let me get us off the screen for a moment. The bombers that blew up the German in Ottawa made it back to the west coast of the United States. So while they won't be able to attack any particular land territories, they still can get down into the theater, but they're not going to be quite as effective as they might have been. So as far as I'm concerned, Picard maneuver, mission accomplished. It forced I'm going to save that line for just a second. Okay, hold that. Over to China for their combat move. They control 2 territories, so they're going to get 1 infantry at the end of their turn. They do decide now to go after the guy in Shanghai. They go after him with the 3 infantry. They send the 1 guy from Hupei up to Ningxia. Of course, they take Ningxia for free, and they get Shanghai and take no losses there. They do take out the last Japanese infantry that was on the west side of China. They mobilized the additional infantry into Ningxia. I wonder about instead putting that guy in Hubei. Yes, the Japanese would have been able to go out and get him, but that would have forced them to go out and get him.
Yeah.
Right?
I was also wondering about that and about putting those 3 guys into Nixia instead of Qinghai. Because, yeah, you could have gone forward, but again, we'd be moving towards your victory city.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I was excited about getting that guy there, and I felt like it worked because you guys kind of chased him backward, and it's a pain if you don't. Like, you kind of feel like you have to, but it also puts your guys kind of out of play for the rest of the game. So,
well, yeah, and if you don't do it, that guy can step into Kazakh.
Yeah, Kazakh blocks any help coming south against Italy or into
or Novosibirsk.
Yeah,
and I think that's
and also
ultimate.
Go ahead,
I was about to say, I think that's ultimately why we ended up grabbing that guy. But I also think we probably should have been a little bit more risky there with China. It's coming towards the end of the game. We're end of round 4. If we had gone in there with 2, one guy to Nixia, one guy to Humph, that's just more territories we could have taken. And hindsight, we would have been able to do a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
good stuff.
We're wrapping up round 4 here, and we're looking at it saying we don't know if this is going to be decided by victory cities or money. It's the victory cities have been 9-9 all game. The money is in striking distance for either side. We're behind on that front, but not so far behind that it's not possible. So we're in that. Doug did a good job heading west there and forcing us to choose between victory cities and money, and we don't know which one's going to matter more when this game ramps up.
Yeah.
Right. U.S. mobilizes their 6 infantry and 2 fighters into D.C. No units to the Pacific. So as far as I'm concerned, this is mission accomplished for the Picard maneuver. We wanted to bring units back to North America, and we wanted to force the Americans to spend on the Atlantic side of the map, so that gives Japan quite a bit more breathing room. If this 38 IPCs would have been pointed at Manila or Tokyo or any of those victory cities that are over there, it might have been a different game entirely. But Germany has now forced the Americans to defend their capital. So I think this is, if there was a case study for the Picard maneuver, or the best case scenario for the Picard maneuver, this is really what it's trying to do. So at the end of the U.S.'s turn, we collect 38 IPCs. They'd saved 0. They end with 38 IPCs. And that is the end of round 4. And any questions? I think we're moving along here. Lots of fans of Canada here. I like it. Yes, our loss in Germany was retribution for screwing up the rules. That's fair. That's fair, Paul. Absolutely. That's a fair hit, no doubt.
I think it was retribution for suggesting you'd put sauerkraut and poutine.
What's funny is those are 2 foods I don't like. I don't like it.
Oh, see, I love poutine. I despise sauerkraut. So
yeah, I had a bad experience.
That's why I sent the bombers. It had to stop.
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, I had a bad experience. My first trip to Canada, I had poutine, and it made me so sick. So I've had a personal trauma. I'm sure it's delicious, and I know everybody loves it, and that's great, but I can't do it. Eric, maybe this can be addressed post-game, but Germany going so heavy Navy should be a signal to KGF to punish them, or no? No. I don't think so. But we'll that question might answer itself as we go through the game. Doug, any thoughts about round 4?
Yeah, I mean, nothing major different. I don't love how Asia's going. I like the fact that China was redirected, but I mean, I'm still feeling tons of pressure from the U.S. and feel like I need to need to play really flawlessly with Japan in order to not get my victory cities taken because they don't have any people in them.
Right. Right.
I mean, I got like what, a tank in Tokyo and a tank in Shanghai and nothing in Hong Kong and nothing in Manila. So I feel like I'm walking the tightrope here.
Yeah, that's a good way to say that, because you've got just a ton of pressure all around. I mean, this fleet can really do some damage in a hurry if not managed correctly.
Yep.
All right, as we look at the victory city count, as Adam suggested here, we are still tied 9-9 in the victory city count. The Axis have picked up a little bit more money. We're now up 16 IPCs. The Allies are down by 13. And so this is still kind of moving a little bit in the Axis direction, but it maybe leveled off a little bit here. All right, now I got to switch. That was 4. So, fun fact for those of you watching at home, if you try to put 9 gigs of 4K photographs into a single keynote presentation, it doesn't go well. So don't do that. It does not respond kindly. There we go. All right. Oh. All right. Good. All right. You ready for... Oh, hold on. What happened here? Why are you not... There we go. Okay. All right. Give me 2 beats. Okay, sorry. Something chiming in the background here. I need to turn it off. All right. So, all right. Japan 5. Doug, take us through it.
All right. So I'm realizing
Sorry.
that...
Hold on. One more second. Sorry.
You're fine. First time I heard that beeping earlier, I didn't know fire alarm was going off in my house. I was like, what is this?
No, my studio mate is here, and every time they open the door, it's a security door. So he opens the door, and it causes that beeping, which is fine, like if you're just here, not in the middle of a live stream. But so he just opened the door, and I went over and turned off the chime so that when he comes back in, it doesn't come back up. Okay.
Yeah.
Doug.
All right. So at this point,
take us through it.
Yeah, at this point, I feel a lot better about Asia. I feel like Gary's maneuver into Ottawa with the Picard maneuver has taken a lot of pressure off me, but the American fleet is still a major problem. So I'm calculating if Britain or China are going to be able to make a race to one of my victory cities. And then again, with America camping on the Philippines, I know they can obviously put pressure there. So I got to get rid of the destroyer in 60 and protect my victory cities and try to just fend America off for another round or 2. This is also the round where I about give the game away. It's yeah. So I've decided to buy 1 destroyer, a bomber, a fighter, an artillery, and an infantry. Again, trying to look for that opportunity to attack the American Navy, blow them up, and looking to bolster my defense and get more land units in a position to get to my victory cities to defend them is basically what I'm aiming for here. So for combat, I need to clear some sea zones. I'm going after the destroyer in 48. I'm going after the destroyer in 60. I want to jump out, grab Hupei, get the dollar, and come back to Fukin. And then I want to hit Burma because, again, it's just going to prevent Britain, assuming that we get to the end of 6 rounds, Britain will not be able to get to Hong Kong. So if I can kill the guys in Burma, it kind of takes them out of play for a victory city. And hopefully Russia's already out of play for a victory city because they're too far up north. So just trying to check all the boxes here and take care of business.
Yeah, I think one of the things that really helped here was that those tanks moved west, right? Remember those tanks
Yeah,
moved out to
absolutely.
Transjordan? And the
Yeah.
fact that they're not available now to make a sprint to Hong Kong is a big plus for Japan.
Yeah. And again, because of Britain's economy and your pressure, they couldn't dump a bunch of tanks in India because they could move out on 5 and then maybe into Hong Kong on 6.
Right.
So
Let's see.
I think everything, my combat moves, I liked. We were successful in 60. We were successful in Burma. And as we know, the lone destroyer wins every time, always and forever. So what's frustrating about this to me is not my combat move, but my follow-up non-combat move, because I attacked the guy knowing I needed to kill him. But then I follow through and flub my non-com in this situation.
All right, let's get to that in a second. So we lost the bomber and a guy. So that's 15 IPCs lost for the Axis, 17 for the Allies, the U.S. destroyer, and then the 3 UK infantry that were in Burma. For your non-combat move, what did you do?
I moved my fleet to C zone, whatever that is, off of Formosa.
60.
60 is on Okinawa. Is it 61?
61. Yeah, hold on a minute. Yeah, 61.
Yeah, 61. So I moved my fleet to C zone 61 with a bunch of my, So I pick up the land units, move my fleet to C zone 61, and I put everything in Fukin. My idea here is I'm centralized, and I can go toward Hong Kong or Shanghai, whichever one I may need to go to if the situation arises. I leave the destroyer in 60, blocking America from 62, and then I put a destroyer in 50, blocking for my, trying to screen my fleet and my capital here. So the idea is I'm trying to preserve as many of my land units and my fleet so that I can come out in a future round and either recapture a victory city or put my guys in position in a victory city to defend it on the last round of the game.
Okay, so where's the mistake?
Well, the mistake is because I was not successful in C Zone 48, that destroyer now has a path through to C Zone 60 and can break my blocker, and then the American fleet can go through and take my capital. So not a very subtle mistake. And it's like I attacked him, and then when I did my non-combat, it's like my brain left me, and I didn't account for it.
Yeah, so it wasn't like we didn't go after the thing, right? We went after it, and we missed. The only other thing that we could have done to get more units into that fight would have been to end with a carrier in 50, right, and send the fighters down to 48. And then they would have to land in 50.
Yeah, or another bomber. But I was using the bombers in Burma.
Oh, right. Yeah, the bomber from Manchuria could have come, right? Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then landed. So, yeah, I suppose we could have done that. Mm-hmm. Alas, we didn't. But
you would expect you didn't need the bomber to survive. You just needed the destroyer to not survive. And you're rolling at a 4, we're rolling at a 2. As amazing as lone destroyers have been this game, I think it's kind of reasonable to expect that you're going to clear that. And after on your second day of 12-hour days of playing this game, like you're just in your head, that destroyer, I've eliminated that threat by sending the bomber there, and you just move on with your plan because it's a tournament. You got to move fast, and sometimes we make some flubs from moving fast.
Here's the other thing is I still have that extra carrier. I could have moved the carrier into 60 to support the destroyer, or put 2 destroyers in 60 and block 50 with a carrier. So anyway, it's a problem.
Yeah. There's a couple of different ways we could have done this for sure, but
it's a good thing that cruiser's not in 53.
Yeah, that would have been, if this were here, that would have, that'd have been all bad. Or again, like if that UK bomber would have been in China somewhere,
Yeah, that would have
the
been
UK
hard
bomb
to
would have been.
anticipate. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd been harder. We mobilized the infantry, the artillery, the fighter, the bomber into and around Tokyo. So there's a destroyer now in Sea Zone 62. That'll hold off the Americans, I'm sure.
That's right.
Oh, Japan collects 36 IPCs. They had saved none. They end the turn with 36 IPCs. And we turn the action over to the pesky Soviets. Brian, what are you thinking about this going into the Russians' fifth turn?
At this point, I can tell you one thing is Adam and I were talking about this after the fact. Is we were behind over in Sherbert because we never got those infantry move forward, and I do specifically remember us pointing that out because they're not in range to get down to Kiangsu. Other than that, I'm feeling pretty okay with the Russian front. We've been playing a pretty defensive game where we're at, and I feel like I got a lot of territory to trade with not a lot of air.
If only. Imagine what could have been.
Here we go.
Okay.
He's not wrong.
Right. Here we go.
I just have to give him a hard time about it.
Right. All right. For the Russians' purchase, they got 27 IPCs. This time they spent it all on 4 infantry and 3 tanks because tanks are great in this game. I love them. So let's do that. Next up, for their combat move, they're going to try to push that entire line back across the western front of the Soviets' territory. They're into Archangel, 2 infantry and artillery with the bomber. They're into Belarus with a big stack there. That's 3 infantry, 4 artillery, 3 tanks. Into East Ukraine, 2 infantry, 2 tanks. Look at those tanks getting action now. Look at that. That's fantastic. I'm excited about that. And then into Ukraine, they're sending 3 infantry and the fighter after the Italian infantry and tank. Let's see how it went for them. Oh, but they also did, this time, they sent them over to Buryatia with the 6 infantry to take that territory there. They are now in range, of course, of Manchuria, which could be 3 IPCs away from the Axis if we come down to an IPC race. So this is not an insignificant move for the Soviets. These guys, while they probably should have been there earlier, the fact that they're there now creates its own separate threat. Let's see how it went across their western front. It looks like they were successful all around except in Ukraine. Looks like they lost the 2 infantry and retreated with the fighter, but they were able to take out all of the Italian units that were there. So they killed everybody, but they didn't take control of the territory. They should probably send a tank in there. Anyway, moving on. Let's see how the losses turned out this time. Pretty heavy for the Axis. That's 27 down for the Axis, including those Italian tanks that, again, for reasons passing understanding, we put in East Ukraine. Don't know why. But the Allies lose 12 IPCs this time in the trade. For their non-combat move, they decide that they want to post up in Belarus. They send in an infantry, 2 tanks, and an AA gun to make a big stack in that space now. The bomber and the fighter do come back to Caucasus. They mobilize the 4 infantry, the 3 tanks. That's the 4 infantry into Caucasus and the 3 tanks going into Moscow. They collect their 22 IPCs. They saved 0. They end with 22 IPCs. Guys, tell me about the decision to post up in Belarus.
Here we're trying to get a little bit more pressure, possibly push that other victory city, Karelia, force you to kind of defend it a little bit harder, force you to trade some units, and hopefully get some use out of some of these tanks. Ultimately, I don't think we quite had enough to fully push forward. I think we spread out a little bit too much on the front there to do that.
Yeah,
it was. Go ahead.
The goal all along with the heavy land unit buy is at some point Russia's got enough of a stack to go in some territory and with just everything, hold it, and reduce the number of territories that you're trading every turn. And I think we just got a little bit too giddy about that was what we were shooting for, not recognizing that this was probably not the best time to do it. And frankly, maybe a little bit frustrated that in a game where Germany was so effective with their fleet, that should have absolutely created an opening at some point for us to make something happen with Russia here, and we haven't been able to do it because Gary has played the front very well, kept us balanced, and held back in a line we don't want to be at the whole game.
Yeah. I think that there was value in moving to Belarusia, but I think it might have come at the expense of East Ukraine, right?
Yeah.
So if you'd have stayed out of East Ukraine and instead brought all of those land units, because I think all the land units that you brought into East Ukraine could have gotten into Belarusia, because I think they all came from Moscow. That would have put a couple more tanks there, another infantry. So we'll see how it plays out. But I'm just looking at all of the Germans that are in range, and that would make me a bit nervous. So, but we'll see how it plays out on Germany's turn. Speaking of the Germans, it is time for Germany's fifth turn, and we are coming into this turn with a whopping 48 IPCs, and we're going to use it to buy 2 bombers, 2 fighters, and an artillery. We're going to save 1 IPC this time for a combat move. So for our combat move, I missed a picture here as I was doing the recreation. We do attack this cruiser in C-Zone 10. We send the sub over as well as all 4 of those fighters, but we opted not to go into the U.S. We did the math on it, and our odds of success here were only 9%. At the time, when we looked at it, we could see that our attack value was 22. Their defense value was 24, plus the AA shots. So this wasn't worth going at it. As much fun as it would be for Germany to take DC on the fifth turn, and it, by the way, would have made it impossible, nearly impossible for, well, I guess the Americans could have come down with their 1 infantry, and then the bombers and the fighters could have come back and probably hit DC. I don't know how to look at it, but it would have been, it'd have been fun to take it, but the math doesn't work out for us to do that. So. And then if we go to the UK from here, our odds are even worse. We're less than 1% to get into the UK at this point. After they've got 11 infantry, what have they got? 12 2s, 2 3s, 7 4s. Like, we just don't have enough power to get into that space. But we do have enough to get into Belarusia. So we look at all the math here, and we send a big stack into Belarusia. And we also have enough units left over, feel confident to send 3 infantry and 2 bombers into Archangel. So we're into Belarusia with 3 fighters. It looks like 13 tanks and a pretty good number of infantry. We also sent this tank from Egypt into Persia. There's 2 infantry there, and our goal really is to knock off this trading in Transjordan, right? So if we can get rid of those land units, then they just have to come with air units by themselves. So we're hoping to be able to keep these guys alive. Everyone seems to be dying when they go to Transjordan, right? No one can defend Transjordan, so we're trying to knock that off. And we were successful in C-Zone 10. We took that cruiser out and took no losses. And we got a straight-up push in Persia. The Germans weren't able to take the territory because they fell in the return fire, but they did get both of those UK infantry. And we were very successful in Belarusia. We ended the combat with 13 tanks in the space. We opted to lose the 2 fighters, one of which we lost to an AA shot on the way in, but the other fighter we opted to take as a hit because we wanted to make sure that we could defend the stack of tanks, right? So the fighter wasn't going to be able to stay in the territory, so we decided to keep the additional tank. Total losses this time very significant. Axis losing 56, the Allies losing 81. A lot of that are the Soviet land units, and then of course the UK cruiser. For our non-combat, the tank comes up from the Union of South Africa to Belgian Congo. Looks like it's going to try to make its way over to French West Africa. The bombers come back and land in Karelia. The infantry and the artillery move into Ukraine. And in an interesting quirk of the map, this is an oddly safe spot for the German fleet, or for an Axis fleet, I should say. So they can still reach the UK. And they can reach DC, of course. But these fighters can't attack C-Zone 11 because they don't have a place to land. Now, in theory, the Americans could buy a couple of carriers and give them a place to land, but they typically won't do that. So, because you can only get 4 fighters there, and that won't be enough to break this fleet. So this is an oddly safe spot to land. And the bombers that are in the Pacific, they can get here in 6, but then they don't have a place to land. So this is an oddly safe, like, kind of quirk in the map that we discovered like in the middle of this game. So this is kind of a fun spot. And it gives us the ability to target Brazil. We can go back to Ottawa. We can start picking off some of these places. And it still gives us pressure on DC, though we're not able necessarily at this point to reinforce. In theory, what we could have done would have been to try to, because the bombers have come to Morocco, Algeria, and then go 1, 2, 3, 4.
They can't land.
No, they can't land. Yeah. We'd need another turn because we'd need to be able to take the West Indies or Central America. So no, they wouldn't be able to land. Okay. So I like this little quirk in the map. I think this is fun.
Yeah, this is cool. I mean, usually you see the Atlantic dominated by the Allies, so you just don't think about what would be a great place for the Axis in the Atlantic. Right. But yeah, right. That is you're keeping those forces pinned in London, in DC, and we have no way to unpin them. That all those British fighters, the goal with them is to sink this fleet and finally be done with this. And now we can't reach, but you can still reach us, so we're still stuck.
Right. Now, what this does do, though, is it makes it so that first off, those 2 fighters that were up here just died in Belarusia. So there's now only 4 fighters that can make this fight. So we're not putting nearly as much pressure on London, but it's not like all 7 of these fighters can pick up and go to Moscow.
Yep.
Right. So we're still keeping a fair amount of pressure there, but not nearly as much as we had before. But we do up that pressure now that we mobilize the 2 fighters in Karelia and now the 2 bombers and the infantry into Berlin. The Germans end the turn collecting 45 IPCs. We'd saved 1, so we end the turn with 46. Over to the UK for their 5th turn. All 2 caucuses. Okay. And they're starting the turn with 22 IPCs. They use it to purchase 4 infantry and 2 tanks, saving no... I'm sorry, I short-circuited there. For the UK's 5th turn, they start the turn with 22 IPCs. They use it to purchase 4 infantry and 2 tanks, spending all of their money. For their combat move, they're going back at Burma with 1 of the infantry and that bomber. And, of course, this sneaky destroyer is going to come up here and try to take out that Japanese destroyer and create the opening for that American fleet to come through and try to take out Tokyo. And this is, at this point, like we're face palming and we're like, oh my God, we're about to lose this game because of this one piece that just refuses to die. And when we look at the outcome, we were successful in defending this space. Defending destroyers never die. Just, I'm going to have to write Larry Harris and say, how did you do this? This feels like a magic trick, because this destroyer is now the magic destroyer. It takes out the UK destroyer on the defense by itself and does not fall. And it didn't even have to take out the UK destroyer. It just had to not die. If the UK destroyer would have hit, we'd probably lose this game.
I mean, I think it's game over on the spot. Like,
yeah, I mean, I honestly don't know what we would have done if the Americans take Tokyo. I mean, I don't know that we could get it back. Right? And we're pretty confident at this point that we're only going to get through 6 rounds. So we don't think we're going to have a 7th turn. So that means Japan's only going to get 1 more turn. They can't reach Calcutta. They can't reach Hawaii. So if they lose Tokyo, they just are losing a victory city. And somehow Germany and Italy's going to have to make that up. This is another one of those like really small battles that was huge.
yeah, it would have been kind of ridiculous when you think about it.
I will
I
say,
would have had to have attacked their navy and try to take Tokyo back. That would have been my only option. I mean, what, they have a 47, a 53 defense, and I have like a 40 something attack. I mean, I guess, you know, I don't know the exact math, but yeah, I would have had way less than a 40% chance is my guess.
Yeah, you're losing these guys.
Oh yeah.
Right. So I mean, you've got like the 2 bombers and whatever. So I skipped it a second ago, but
32, 40. Yeah, I mean, I only have like a 42 attack or something. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway,
it wouldn't have been great. So in Burma, the UK missed with the infantry, they missed with the bomber, and then the Japanese infantry hit back. The UK lost the infantry and opted to retreat with the bomber. So the Japan keeps control of Burma.
yeah, that was like the best round for my dice versus their dice by far, and it probably saved the game.
Yeah, for sure. Losses this time, nothing for the Axis and 11 for the Allies. Non-combat move now for the UK. What are we doing? There you go. The cruiser comes out of 56 and down to 53. Thankfully, it was not there on the previous turn, or this game would have been very different. The air units move back up to Moscow. They're there now with the fighter and the bomber that were in Calcutta, and then they send 5 of the 7 fighters across to Moscow. So now Moscow's got, looks like 6 British. Now Moscow's got 6 British fighters and 1 bomber. Yeah, that's right. And then there's 1 fighter, 3 infantry in Calcutta. They opt to not make any moves in the Atlantic side other than sending those fighters over. They mobilize the 4 infantry and the 2 tanks. That's 2 infantry and, excuse me, that's 2 tanks and 1 infantry into Calcutta, and then the other 3 infantry into London. They end the turn collecting 21 IPCs this time. That feels low. Is that right? Yeah. Yeah, because you didn't get Burma back, but you do have Ottawa. So yeah, it's 21. Yeah, you're down 10, but you're not up anything anymore. So yeah, so 21. Okay, so Brian, any thoughts about the UK's 5th turn here?
Well, obviously a little disappointed about the cruiser attack. Obviously that was a pretty big miss there. Also, Burma felt a little behind on Burma. I probably could have committed 1 more infantry to it, but I felt a little pressured back from the Italians coming in and wanted to make sure I held that. So, and while I was able to finally get some fighters out of the UK, I still feel a little behind the 8 ball with a bunch of units up there that can't do much.
Right. Yeah, I mean, this
So
is
the
just
Picard,
this is an extraordinary amount of IPCs spent that are only ever on the defense,
yeah.
which is
Yep, and being down so much money from Africa and then forced to spend that much to defend UK has really made that difficult.
Yep. Over to the Italians for their 5th turn. Coming into this turn, we've got those 16 IPCs. We used it to purchase 2 infantry and 2 tanks, again, keeping those 2 transports full. For our combat move, we are sending 2 guys over into Persia, and then the rest are coming around in picking up a couple of units out of Rome, and then coming into Caucasus with everything that can reach here. We're looking at this fight, and we are attacking with an attack value of 12 plus the 3 offshore shots. They're defending with 13 and an AA gun. Okay, so now we're not expecting to be able to take this territory. What we're trying to do here is stop these units from being able to move up and reinforce Moscow, right? We're trying to do as much damage as we can here because, again, the Italians are going to be able to go back and reload and come at this again on a 6th turn. So we're trying to do as much damage as we can here to keep those units out of Moscow. Hope that makes sense. And we are very successful here. We got a little bit, I won't say we got crazy lucky, but we did get a slightly favorable outcome here. We got all the way down to an infantry and a fighter here for the Soviets, and we retreated, keeping the Italian fighter for future use. So we retreated, we lost all of our land units, but it looks like we got a couple of those offshore shots came through, and we were able to get in a couple of rounds of combat and thin down that force by a fair amount. And the Soviets also opted to lose that bomber. Axis losing a total of 18 here, which is paired by the Allies also losing 18. That's 3 infantry and that bomber. Non-combat here for the Italians, pretty simple. That fighter's just going to move up to Belarusia and end the turn there. We mobilize the 2 infantry and the 2 tanks into Rome and end the turn collecting another 16 IPCs. Missing that graphic. Okay. Over to the U.S. for their 5th turn. Adam, talk me through it. What are you thinking?
It's game time for U.S. here. I've got 2 more moves to pick up a victory city at least. I'm hoping I can get 2. I'm not seeing an easy path to 2. So my next best shot is to pick up 1 and close that money gap and hope to pull Doug into an unfavorable fight or an unfavorable position. I unfortunately can't dictate which one of those I can pull Doug into. I just got to do my best to force him to make some moves to try and even out the theater. So I'm looking at, I got a nice, I positioned myself in range of Philippines to get that victory city and both the money islands to close that IPC gap. So I'm going to position myself in a way to grab all 3 of those, knowing I don't have enough fleet to stop Doug from getting all 3 of those, but I can position for a counter because I've got 2 moves left and Doug only has 1.
All right, you've got 38 IPCs to spend. You spend 37 of them to buy another carrier, 2 fighters, and an infantry. For your combat move, you go into C-Zone 50 with the destroyer and all of the air units. That looks like 7 fighters. You use the 2 transports worth of guys to come down to Borneo. That's 3 infantry and an artillery into an unoccupied territory. And then down into the East Indies with an infantry and down into the East Indies with an infantry and a tank to face off against the last Japanese infantry on that island. And let's Let's see how that goes. Of course, you take Borneo with no problem. You take out the destroyer in Sea Zone 50, and for the first time, a destroyer does not hit back. The Japanese destroyer there in Sea Zone 50 fell by itself. Just because it's the first time it has happened in this game.
It was a decoy. It
was a
wasn't fake.
Right. It was a wooden ship. It's okay.
That's right.
But the Japanese have a very big defense here in East India. Yeah. But the Japanese have a big defense in the East Indies. They hold the territory. Not only do they hold the territory, but they don't lose any of their guys. They were able to take out both of the American land units that were attacking. Losses, that's the Japanese destroyer versus the 8 IPCs that the Allies lost in their attempt to take the East Indies. That was another one of those, like, 1 or 2 dice either way and would have made a big difference in this game, and this one happened to fall our direction. Non-combat for the Americans. They stepped down from East Canada, leaving that territory unoccupied now, reinforcing DC. They moved the rest of the fleet into Sea Zone 49 around Borneo. The bombers come all the way down to Australia, and they send an additional destroyer over to 36 to stop the Japanese from swinging down and either taking Borneo back or taking out the American fleet. So I think this is actually a pretty clever move. Doug, I wonder what you thought about this.
Yeah, I mean, they screen me from getting rid of their fleet. Obviously, if I could blow their fleet up, I don't have anything to worry about. So yeah, I think that was a great move, grabbing the money islands, because there's a good chance this game will come down to IPCs and putting themselves in a position to hit me as hard as possible. I think it was a good move. I am feeling way better about things now and feeling like Shanghai and maybe even Hong Kong are pretty secure. So the real battle is going to come down to Manila at this point in the game.
Yeah, it looks like that. Over to China for their 5th turn. For their combat move, they step forward into Suiyuan and to Hubei, taking those unoccupied territories with no problem. Non-combat, those 3 infantry come out of Shanghai and down into Xikang. And then they mobilize the 1 infantry that they got into Suiyuan. So perhaps on a US/China 6, they can threaten Manchuria and or Jiangsu and the Victory City in Shanghai. Hubei is also in range of that Victory City, something that the Japanese will definitely want to keep an eye on. They mobilize that carrier, 2 fighters, and the infantry. That's the carrier and the 2 fighters into San Francisco in the bay there, and then additional infantry into DC. They collect the 38 IPCs. They'd saved 1. They end the U.S.'s turn with 39 IPCs. Brings us to the end of round 5. Whew. Okay. Let's see. Any questions out here?
One thing I'll point out while we're piling credit on the effectiveness of the Picard maneuver in this game. Normally in the Pacific, I like to keep my bombers in range of supporting any island attacks. I probably would have had 2-3 bombers in that East Indies attack normally, but they got pulled to Canada and then they were stuck on the West Coast, so they were out of range this turn. So that's another knock-on effect from everything that's been accomplished with this game.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, and I think you're absolutely right. I think that would have been the difference in the East Indies, right? Those bombers being there certainly would have made a huge difference. Do you need 7 fighters on the destroyer? I assume that's in Sea Zone 50. The idea is that they weren't going to be doing anything else, so you might as well have them come in and take out those units. In theory, they could have come down and helped in East Indies, but you wouldn't want to break up the fleet. The issue is that the Japanese could have, in theory, blown a hole in and then moved into the sea zone around Borneo, which would have stopped that fleet from then coming back and having a reasonable shot at Manila. So,
yeah, the fleet had to be positioned where it is. I probably could have popped a carrier out to just 1 carrier to catch a couple fighters and just had been shy a carrier in my fleet. It's probably what I should have done, but it's not what I did.
Yeah, no, I think it's okay. Thank you for becoming a member, Mike. Mike, are you the Mike Chevalier who played in the 1942 Second Edition final at Gen Con? Thanks for being here. Thank you for becoming a member. This is a good question, actually. I wonder what you think about this. Why didn't they take the Caroline Islands?
Yeah, so this one, it gets a little in the weeds on the rules, but that destroyer that we blocked Doug with only blocks his fleet. It doesn't block his air. And while he couldn't take out my fleet with air alone, the rules say you can, for purposes of movement, you can assume all your units always hit and all the enemy units always miss. So while it's not a move that a lot of people would like, it would have been completely legal for Doug to send one air piece against my fleet, opening up the possibility that carriers could catch fighters to blow up any land units that were in Caroline. And he had enough, he could spare one air for my fleet, send the rest to Caroline, and then that's it for my land units. I don't have time to go back and get anything worthwhile before the end of the game.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And this is something that we've seen in a couple of games before where air units just go in and blow up the land units that are on an island, right? And if the American land units are destroyed, they're done, right? They can sink the Japanese fleet all they want, but if they can't take control of any territories, it doesn't matter. So, yeah, that's a thing. Again, looking around the map at the end of round 5, I'm in love with the German fleet in the middle of the Atlantic. I just think I'd never seen it before, and honestly, we haven't seen it since. And we've run the Picard maneuver since then, and we've now gotten into this position again. I think this is pretty cool. Let's take a look at the Victory City count. Again, we're still tied 9-9, but the IPC race is tightening a little bit. The Allies look like they picked up a little bit. The Axis are only up by 12 at this point, and the Allies are down by 10. So we're still leading in this, but there is only a gap of 7, and that can swing very, very quickly. And the fact that the Americans are going to get to go last might have a substantial impact on this number at the end. So keep an eye on that.
The East Indies alone would have swung it in favor of the Allies.
Right. Yeah, just that one battle. That's true.
I'll be back in 1 second.
Sure. Oh, hold on. All right. The rule that they're talking about, Natron, is the idea that you can send air units over a fleet to take out land units that are on the land. And the idea is that in order to make a legal move with air units, they have to have a theoretical place to land. And by making an attack that creates that potential opportunity, then that is a theoretical place for them to land. And so that is why, in that instance, Doug would have been able to send over all 8 of his fighters into that space to be able to take out those land units. So.
Yeah, I think the idea is you don't have to guarantee a place to land because you don't know everything that's going to happen. If you do it the other way and say you have to guarantee a place to land, it really restricts what you can get done with a carrier because you don't know when and where you can't guarantee anything with dice.
Right.
So the idea is if you make an attack on any sea zone, there is a possibility, even if it's an incredible long shot, that you clear that sea zone and carriers can move in. In this case, Doug could have cleared that destroyer and the fleet, or at least just attack those 2 sea zones, and then non-combat, the carriers come down and catch the fighters that hit Carolines.
Right. Yeah, Eric, that's the same rule in 42 and in Global. So that's a pretty consistent rule across all of the versions. So this is one of the reasons why you'll see folks leave units on transports, particularly in the Pacific, so that they can't move that. so they don't risk the land units on the island. Now, one of the things that I think I've seen, Brian, I think I've seen you do this, is to split the difference and to land with a few land units and keep a couple of land units on the transports so that you kind of get the best of both worlds, where you do get the landing zone, but you're also not risking all of your land units to do it. So I think that might be a really good way to look at this. Yeah, we can talk about this. I might make a video about this. I think we talk about this in my air combat video, so you might want to check that out on the channel. We go back, there's a fighters and carriers. We talk about how this can be used in that way. So we can talk more about this there. All right. On to round 6. The 6th and final round. Here we go.
All right.
Doug, tell the people what you did.
Okay, so I have to get rid of the 3 Chinese units that can threaten Shanghai, and then I have to be sure that I secure the Philippine Islands. Capture any IPCs that I can, which is pretty low, but really guard my IPCs as much as I can are kind of the 3 or 4 things that I need to make sure happen this round.
All right. You've got 36 IPCs, and naturally, because you're Doug Thorpe, you use that to buy 3 bombers. That is what you would do.
There's no
yes,
purchase.
As you should.
Yeah. Okay, so what I did was not the optimal move, but here's what I did. I sent 2 tanks and 2 bombers into Siwan, 2 infantry and 2 artillery into Hupei. I sent 2 battleships and a destroyer into Sea Zone 50 around the Philippines, and then a bunch of air and a destroyer into Sea Zone 36. So my idea here is I'm blocking the U.S. fleet from coming through 36 against my Asian victory cities, and then ultimately I'm taking out the guy around the Philippine Islands with the plan of landing some stuff and planting my fleet there so that the U.S. has no path to my other victory cities, and the only place they can go is Manila, and I'm making my stand there for this victory city, and depending on what happens elsewhere, maybe the game when it comes to America's turn. Was successful in Siwan, successful in Hupei, and successful everywhere, actually. Destroyers didn't do their job this time. Which is
apparently the destroyer magic is gone. Now that they
left.
Right. Now that UK destroyer is gone, they've broken the spell, I think, of the UK of the lone destroyers.
After the miracle of Sea Zone 60.
That's right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Turned it around.
Man.
So now one of the things that I'm looking at. Oh yeah, go ahead. Combat.
Combat losses this time are 8 for the Axis. That's the infantry and the tank, and the Allies lost 22. That's the 2 destroyers that were set up as blockers, as well as the 3 Chinese infantry.
Okay, so for non-combat moves, I don't need to protect my fleet anymore. I just need to protect the victory city of Manila. There's no land units that can get to Hong Kong or Shanghai, and it doesn't matter if America blows my fleet up. They have to be able to take Manila in order to win. So I am going to move my carriers into the sea zone around the Philippines, but I'm going to land all of my fighters and put as many land units into the Philippine Islands as possible. And then to preserve some money, I'm going to land the 2 units from Japan into Manchuria and put my bombers there, just so that those Russian guys can't walk in or get a pre-attack into that and pick up those 3 IPCs. Well, really take it from Japan. The Allies don't count it toward theirs, but it takes Japan down 3 IPCs because it's China. And then I place my 3 bombers.
All right, and that is the end of Japan's game. All they can do now is roll on the defense after they've collected their 31 IPCs. And they turn
I feel good.
Go ahead.
Sorry. I feel good about... Go back one slide, please. I feel pretty good about Manila because the bombers cannot get into the land battle. Really, it's 4 twos and 8 threes. And so I have 9 fours, 3 twos, and a 3. So I feel very good about the defense of Manila. Again, the bombers are only able to reach, the bombers and actually the fighters in season 56 are only able to reach the naval battle. And again, it doesn't matter if my navy's wiped out as long as I can hold the territory.
Right.
Yes, at this point, kind of wishing I had taken Caroline because I could have staged the bombers there, and that would have been a bit of a stronger hit on the Philippines.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, Eric, that's right. You'd have to move the carrier during combat. Right. It wouldn't be a non-combat. Okay. All right, you collected your money. All right, that takes us over to the Soviets for their 6th and final turn. They're going into the turn with 23. They're going into the turn with 24 IPCs. They use it to buy 3 tanks and 3 infantry. This is mostly because they're only planning really to build, I believe, in Moscow. So they can only build 6 there. So this is why they purchased the units that they did. For combat, they are going to send 2 of the tanks, the infantry and the fighter, into eastern Ukraine. They're going to stay out of Archangel, and they're going to stay out of Belarusia this time. They also opted not to attack Persia. They are successful in Ukraine. They take out all of the Axis units that are there. For their non-combat, I thought this was pretty clever. So they're worried about these tanks making a beeline through East Ukraine into Caucasus. So what they did instead is they drop an AA gun into the space, and that constitutes an enemy unit in the space, which will stop blitzing tanks. So now the Germans can't blitz through East Ukraine. They can take it. They can take it for free, right? But it costs them a unit, and then it has to stop in that space. And because, I don't know, all of the Italian units have been destroyed, it doesn't really matter. It's fine. Wait, still, a couple of Italian land units here would have been pretty useful. Alas, they're gone now. The other non-combat move, of course, is the fighter and the infantry coming out of Caucasus and into Moscow. They mobilize the 3 infantry and the 3 tanks into Moscow and collect 23 IPCs at the end of their turn. Now, I will say, when I first saw this, I thought, wow, they're just going to give us Stalingrad. That's cool. That's awesome. I'm a big fan of that. And then I heard across the table, I heard Adam say, oh, don't worry about that Italian fleet. It's not going to be there. Because all of these British air units can hit that Italian fleet. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's going to be a problem. We're going to need to do something about that. So, it's a little tricky. Any thoughts about the Soviets' turn there, Brian?
Overall, I hated to have to give up Stalingrad, and we kind of argued back and forth about that for quite a while, if I remember correctly, until Adam was like, don't worry, we can take that out. And I was like, oh yeah, we can. Right. And so a little less worried about it then, because, we're still down a little bit of money, but U.S. can hopefully make some of that up, so I'm feeling pretty good about it right then.
Yeah, I mean, it's 6 fighters and the bomber that are in Moscow, plus the fighter that's in Calcutta. Because now Japan, they don't have to worry about Japan coming through there. And the Italian fleet is now in the Black Sea, so it's not threatening Calcutta anymore. Best case, it's 2 infantry the Italians can walk over there with. That's not going to be enough to do really anything. So I think, yeah, the UK
even those 2 infantry you can take from India.
Say what?
The 2 infantry in Persia, India can take out before they get to march
Oh, right.
in.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we were gonna blitz those tanks up there too.
Right. All right. So that takes us over to Germany's 6th turn. And now seeing that we've got this problem with these UK air units, it kind of forces Germany's hand a bit. Now we've got 46 IPCs to spend, and I'm a fan, so I like to spend the money when I've got it. So I buy myself 3 bombers, and I save 10 just because I think it's fun. It's not going to matter. Our victory cities are not in any danger at this point, so we don't need to buy anything. These bombers are just for entertainment value alone. Combat move, that tank did make it out of Belgian Congo over to French West Africa, grabbing that last IPC, completing the African set. And then rather than try to go at the U.S. with very low odds, we opted to spider out. We grabbed Ottawa again. We took the West Indies. To go with our East Indies. We needed the West Indies. And then we also stepped down and took Brazil.
Yeah.
And we needed to go into Moscow. Now, we did a bunch of math on this. Our attack value here is 64. Their defense value is 63 plus the AA shot. Now, when I put this into a calculator after the event, it shows us with an odds of success here of about 30%. But we don't really have to win. All we have to do is do enough damage here that we can keep the Italian fleet alive, and we can stop the British from being able to make a serious defense of Stalingrad and stop the Italians from being able to get in there on their last turn. So I hope that makes sense when you like, why would you go at it when you've only got a 30% chance? Well, here it is. And it's the last turn, and the Soviets aren't going to be able to go again. So why not? Like, we've got a 1 in 3 chance of taking a capital. We might as well go at it. So, but our odds here are not great. Okay. So now we have footage from the event that I want to share with you because this was fairly remarkable. Again, this is our first time trying this, so hopefully this works.
How many AA shots do we get?
2 for the fighters, 4 for the bombers.
2 for the fighters,
Got to roll separate.
4 for the bombers.
Yeah.
2 for the fighters.
Is it going to come down to money? Might come down to this battle. If you win,
Got 1.
2 or
1 fighter.
of the fighters. Okay. If you win, you win, or if you
So we lost a fighter to the AA.
Nothing. Dang it.
The bombers make it through.
Okay.
Our ones miss.
you have 14 threes, Gary. There's 3 of them.
Oh no! Ah. Trying to make that
How
bar.
many AA shots do we get?
There we go.
Misses. 3.
3 hits.
Bomber.
Bomber. 2 and Yeah.
7.
3 hits again.
3 more. 2 more. Then 4 forwards, Gary.
3 more.
Electronic.
Yep. It's a 2 and a 1.
Okay.
1 hit.
All right, 6 threes.
74.
8.
2, 4, 6, 8. So that should have been 6.
That's 8 fours.
8 fours. Yeah. Very pretty. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
That definitely wasn't it.
Just 9 hits. Nothing
9
serious.
Yeah.
3 and 2.
So it's 10 total. All right, Gary, you got 5, 6, 7 threes.
The person who put it in there can decide.
1.
Well, yeah, because
1.
1 hit.
and then you go out of there too.
The Russian fighter.
3 total.
All right, so what do I have for him?
2 threes. 8 more.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
2 threes and 4 fours.
That's a really important moment right there. I turned the box around. Did you see that?
Yeah.
You got 4?
And immediately started getting hits.
1, 2, 3, 4 hits.
Now, he kept getting hits too, so I don't know if that was complete magic, but it
We
was.
keep the bombers in below as many to fire. So yeah, keep the bombers. Keep the bombers. 2 bombers, right? Yeah. 2 bombers, right? Yeah, 4. 2 hits.
And I have 3?
3.
3 hits.
El Fuego.
All right. So we were successful there in getting them down to 1 British fighter. So I feel like that was maybe a little bit better than we were supposed to do statistically, but I think that it went pretty well. But so of course we took Ottawa again, West Indies, and Brazil with no problem. We also took French West Africa, so we picked up a pretty good chunk of IPCs there. Was that 3, 4, 7, 8 IPCs? We're probably not going to keep Ottawa, of course, but we're going to. It forces them to do something about it. And then, of course, we got the Soviets down to just the. Then we got Moscow down to just the 1 UK fighter.
They got 2 tanks and 2 AA guns.
Right. On the map. Right. Total losses this time are massive, of course. The Axis losing 143 IPCs. The Allies losing 127. This might be as much as both of these powers started with value-wise on the map. It's got to be somewhere close to that. I think this is pretty gross. Non-combat, I don't know. What pieces do we have left to move? I have no idea.
You have 1 guy in Berlin.
Yeah, we have 1 land unit in Berlin.
You moved everybody else to like Brazil and the East Indies, and Germany has
Right.
1 infantry unit left.
Right. Like yeah. So I don't, and we didn't move him. Just stayed there. We mobilized the 3 bombers into Berlin.
Oh, man, what a mess.
Yeah. We collect 53 IPCs. To go with the 10 that we saved, we end the turn with 63. Now, it's worth mentioning that if the game does come down to an IPC count, it's not the amount of IPCs that are being held, it's the amount that are being produced at the end of the game. So you can't save your way to an economic victory. So the fact that I saved 10 here doesn't matter. It's just I wanted 3 bombers, I bought 3 bombers. All right. UK 6.
Before we do UK, can I just say, in retrospect, probably should have kept my big trap shut about that Italian fleet. Kind of regret that one.
Learned we were loud whisperers.
Yeah, Brian, that one's on me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I honestly, I don't know if
we
we
would have seen it anyway, but I still feel pretty dumb.
Yeah, we probably would have seen it, but maybe not. I mean, so Spring Gathering is 2 days, and this was our 4th game in 2 days, right? And we're like, our time is about to expire. Greg, the tournament director, is coming by every few minutes to tell us, hey man, you've got 20 minutes left, you've got 12 minutes left. Like he's on top of us for the time. So we're rushing to get to make sure that we get all the way through the game so that he doesn't interrupt us in the middle of round 6. So
yeah. And if you
What
run out of
else
time,
was-
the game just stops before the round, which means once, like, the game could be decided by where you run out of time based on who moved last, which is not the way anybody wants to win or lose. So we're trying really hard to make sure we finish this one on time.
Yeah. What else was Germany going to do? Just sit there looking at you? Like, you might as well attack. So I don't think you gave away too many secrets. Even if we didn't see the Italian fleet move, I think we were going to hit Russia with everything we had anyway.
right, yeah, there was no reason not to.
That makes me feel a lot better, but I still feel dumb. I just feel half as dumb.
Hey. right. All right, so UK6. You've got a couple of things that you want to do here. Brian, tell us about it.
Yeah, so we've got a couple of things that we want to go through here. We want to try and get a little bit of a defense over in Caucasus, if I remember correctly. So I think we're going to hit Persia and then blitz those tanks up and move in some of those fighters for the best possible defense that we can get there.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, one of us
we're
was
also
sure
gonna-
we wouldn't have to defend it, but now we do.
We're also going to be looking back at East Canada over there to do a little cleanup if we can.
You've got 21 IPCs, but we're in a big rush, so there's no need for you to purchase anything. London is not in any danger, mostly because the Germans can't attack anymore, right? Where Germans won't be able to go again, so there's no need to purchase anything. Combat move, as promised, as advertised, you're sending the 2 infantry and both fighters into Persia to try to clear the path for those tanks. In Eastern Canada, you send the 2 infantry up from DC and the 2 fighters over from London to try to take out the riffraff there in Ottawa. You are successful in Persia. This is another one of those battles that could have gone the other way pretty easily, but you'd have had to lose the fighters to make sure that you could make a path for the tanks, right? So if those 2 Italians had shot back and hit, more than once, that could have been a problem for the UK. But you were able to clear that path, and you were able to again take out the riffraff in Ottawa, taking the control of that territory with the UK. Total losses this time, that's the Axis losing 14 and the Allies losing 12. For your non-combat move, the fighters come down and land in DC. And the 2 fighters land in Caucasus, and those 2 tanks do blitz up, making the best defense possible in Caucasus. Nothing to mobilize this time. Collecting 24 because you took Ottawa back. So you're collecting 24 this time, plus the 21 you end with 45 IPCs, had there been a turn 7. So it looks like your plan went as well as it could in that particular round. I will say there was one thing that I noted here that again, this is retrospect and kind of nitpicky, but had the Americans left a spot on this carrier, the fighter that was in Calcutta could have attacked that destroyer and then landed on that carrier. That would have been the 4th move into the sea zone around Borneo. And that would have created an opportunity for the Americans to zip around and pick up 2 victory cities. But how do you know that, right? When you're getting there, right? And so that means that one of these fighters would have had to go down to Australia. Like, you're basically just taking it out of play on the if-come of this. And we've seen how well that's played out before, right? The fighter going after the lone destroyer. So, but in this instance, it would have been worth 2 victory cities.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to note that America went before Japan. Like, I guess America could have guessed that I was going to block 36 with 1 destroyer, but they wouldn't have known that. They were going, and then
Right.
Japan blocked it. So,
yeah, that's also true. Yeah. But it's one of those things that, like, future reference, like, hey, man, maybe there's an opportunity here to do this. And, or if that, if one of those American fighters would have wanted to move into China somewhere, right? Now you know that this fighter can come out and join that fleet, right? If the point is that fleet's going to need to defend itself, then you can think about moving the Allied air units onto it. But that's nitpicky. And again, like Doug said, you would have had to have known kind of how it was going to play out. But another one of those things that's thought for food. The Italians, their 6th and final turn. They've got 16 IPCs to spend. We don't opt to buy anything now because we're completely scrambling. So we save the 16. We purchase nothing. Our combat move, again, pretty straightforward here. We move with the 2 tanks and the 2 infantry out of Rome with the fighter that we saved from before into Caucasus. We're going into this fight. We've got an odds of success here of about 77%, and we kind of got to have it, right? Like, we need this victory city because if we lose in Manila, which is certainly possible, we're going to lose on victory cities. And obviously, we just lost Ottawa, so we're going to need to make sure that we either grab another victory city so that we can afford to lose Manila, right? If it comes to that. So how did it go? We were successful here. We were able to take out both of the British tanks and both fighters. We end with the tank and the fighter and to take control of Stalingrad. Losses this time, that's 11 for the Axis and 30 for the Allies in that battle. Non-combat, pretty simple here. We move the fighter back to Bulgaria, Romania. We move the infantry over to join it. Nothing to mobilize here. But we are collecting 17 this time. That leaves us with 33 at the end of our turn. It takes us over to the Americans for their 6th and final turn. Again, they've got 38 IPCs. No need to buy anything. Nothing's in danger. Their combat move, pretty straightforward here. That's as much as they can get to Manila. Now, again, these bombers are not going to be able to get onto the island, but they can get into the sea zone around it. So they're definitely going to be involved in the fight. So let's take a look at where that would land. I spread these out a little bit here so that you can kind of see. Again, because there aren't any fighters on these carriers, this is almost a non-factor. Like, we know that as substantial as this fleet is, 2 battleships, 4 carriers, and a destroyer, the Americans are clearly going to be able to take this out fairly easily. And they do. So they take that fleet out, but now it comes down to the island. And I've lined this up here so that you can kind of get an idea of what they've got here. So they've got 4 2s and 8 3s.
That's
versus
2 1s, 2 2s, and 8 3s.
Thank you. 2 1s, 2 2s, and 8 3s versus 3 2s, a 3, and 9 4s. So we're definitely favored to hold here. In fact, when we put this all into a calculator now, we can see that our odds of defense here, the odds of the U.S. being successful in this attack here are only 5%. Okay, so the odds are that we're going to be able to wipe these Americans out pretty easily. Alas, we still have to roll the dice. I heard somebody earlier talking about when you a house rule where you can say I want to re-roll, right? Like a mulligan. This is almost where I would say that. I will say the only house rule that I would say is I would want to be able to say one time in a game I want to play all my dice by low luck. Just one time. And this would have been that battle. Let me show you why.
Do you need to move Brian off the...
Yeah. We're going to move Brian over here so that you guys can see the battle board. And hopefully that bar will go away this time. I got it to go away in practice, but I can't seem to get... Let's see if it goes away this time.
So then
2 1s,
2 2s,
2 2s.
8 3s. Like it.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
He gets 8 hits on his opening round.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And he's excited about it.
1, 2.
Doug Firespec gets 1 hit with his 2s. And here's his 9 4s.
Oh, jeez. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 6.
So 7 total.
So 7 all day. That's not bad.
Yep.
1, 3 hits.
He gets 3 hits with his...
5 or 6? 5.
We got 5 fighters left.
1 hit.
1 hit.
3 3s and a 2.
Yep.
I whiffed.
And then he misses everything.
He hit them both.
Two.
Doug fires
All
back.
right, 2 and 3. Yeah, thank you.
I have 2 fighters left.
I hit one.
One of the fighters goes down.
He hit one.
Right, you got a 2. You guys, I swear to God.
At this point, I'm about to lose my mind sitting at the table, because if Doug misses this artillery, like, we might be losing this game, because we don't know exactly what the IPC count is going into this moment. So, like, we're thinking if we're looking at this and we miss and they hit, like, we're 95% to go into this fight. Like, we should not be this. It shouldn't be this close, right? This is just it's too much. I'm freaking out. All right.
So I was about to lose my mind on the roll before that when I had 2 fighters left and he had 3 fighters and an artillery. I was just like, oh my gosh. What are you doing to me, Adam?
Your dice were on fire. There's no doubt about it. See how
I missed. No. He hit. That's game.
Oh my God. Great game, guys.
Wow. Great game.
Get the table.
Oh my God. So this was an insanely close game. It comes down to this last fight. And this fighter who saves the day in Manila. I thought this was an incredible ending to what I thought was a really, really close game all the way through. Total losses this time, 224 for the Axis. Allies losing 167. I should go back and find out and add up, like, how much money did Japan make total over the course of the game? And I'm certain it was less than 224 IPCs. It had to be, right? 6 times 35-ish. It's got to be close.
Yeah.
No. 224 is more than you made the entire game, and you lost it all.
In one battle. Well, I guess 2 battles. But...
Yep.
Well, it's funny because this is the same thing that happened in Moscow. It came down to 1 fighter.
Right. Non-combat move here is pretty simple. This is just landing the air units. China is no longer in range of any of the victory cities, so they don't need to make a move. And that is how this game ends. Gentlemen, a monster game. You guys played fantastic. This was really kind of a weird thing. I found myself at the end of this saying over and over again, you have made a desert and called it peace. Because there are no units on the map. Like, all of Europe, almost all of Asia, completely unoccupied. There's 1 unit in all of Africa. What? That just seems incredibly bizarre.
This looks more like the 1941 board than an anniversary board right now.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was insane. Yeah, Brian, what did you think?
I can agree. It was a nail biter till the end. I was the dice were definitely with me on that last roll a bit. 95 and to come down to 1 dice roll it was an incredible game, and you guys are incredible players, and we really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was an absolute blast. And I will say, I was playing US, but that was Brian rolling. He was hot at the end of this game, so I passed my dice over to him. I said, we need this, Brian. Save us. And it almost worked.
Right.
If I had known that I could turn the box around as well, maybe we could have pulled this one off.
It's an old casino trick. You turn the dice box around and you shake it up.
I totally missed that you did it, or I would have turned it back so I could watch you miss a little more.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was man, that was crazy.
Yeah, amazing game.
Yes. All right, so questions in here. What would Doug have done had they surrounded the Philippines with the fleet? So I guess this would have been US 5. If on US 5 they would have moved into 50, right? Instead of coming down to 51, what would you have done with them?
I don't know, to be honest. I think that might have been the best move for US 5 is to just go ahead and take the Philippines because he had
But
so much defense.
They couldn't. You had blocked it. But
No,
they could have
there's-
non-combated into 50.
Wasn't your fleet
No,
in
we
Caroline?
could have taken it. We were
Yeah.
in Caroline. We could have taken Philippines.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we probably should have been landed there. My fear was those fresh bombers Doug had bought were going to tip it, and he was going to sink my fleet round 5 and follow up with a landing round 6. I was probably it was too timid. I would have been better off doing that. Just piling
I
into
think
50.
so. Yeah, I think the short answer is I would have had to have attacked his fleet and seen if I could have taken it out and recaptured the Philippines.
Had I known we had a nail biter out of a 5% chance in this, I absolutely would have done that and spent the luck there if I could.
Yeah. I mean, in retrospect, I probably should have put a bomber or two there to soak hits instead of putting so much in Manchuria, because all you had was 6 infantry that could attack there. But again, hindsight's 2020. I thought when I had 8 fighters and you guys had 7 that attacking and I was defending, I'd be fine. I was like, oh, I'm good.
Yeah, it looks like you might be right. Yeah, it looks like they could have come in and taken Manila here. I don't know why it's not showing up on the screen. There it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so as a combat move, they opted just to clear 50 and go down to Borneo. Right. So Paul's question, if they come in and land, I think you attack the fleet and try to take it back.
Yeah, I have to. I mean, I don't really have another choice. I just don't know if I get through the fleet. I mean, they have 47, 51, 52, 53 defense. And I don't know what my attack is. 24.
You've got 3 bombers. You've got 9 fighters.
40, 52, 54 attack.
Well, and the UK would have moved in to help defend too, I guess.
Yeah, the cruiser would have moved in.
Those UK boats in the Pacific mess with my brain. You guys have done that to us more than once, and I'm just like,
Right.
I've never seen a UK cruiser in the Pacific, and it just like, you just don't account for it. Even when it's there, you're like just going through your thing because it's never there. I like it, guys. I like it a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's almost as crazy as a German fleet in the middle of the Atlantic.
Yeah.
It really is.
I mean, who would do such a thing? That's crazy talk. Yeah, it's this whole game was pretty nuts. I gotta say, there was just so many like weird kind of moments that end up seemingly small moments, right? That end up being like really important over the course of the game. So yeah. Paul, the UK could have brought the cruiser into 50. So yeah. Which would have helped in the defense of the space. Right?
I want to put this battle into a calculator. I'm really curious.
Yeah, so this would have been that cruiser could have come in and helped defend if they'd have taken Manila like you're suggesting. Yeah.
Do you guys have 2 or 3 destroyers?
2. I think it was 2 destroyers.
8 fighters, 2 destroyers, 2 cruisers, 4 carriers, and a battleship, right?
1 cruiser.
Well, the British cruiser.
Oh, with the British cruiser. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, but the U.S. would have moved there, and Japan would have went next, so the UK couldn't have helped me out there.
Oh, you're right.
Oh, yeah. And I would have 2 battleships, 5 carriers, 2 destroyers, 3 bombers, and 9 fighters. Does that sound right? Because
9 fighters, yeah. 3 bombers. 3 bombers, 9 fighters.
Okay. Whoa. I have a 98% chance to win that. I didn't think it would be that high.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I didn't think it'd be that high either, but I thought you'd be favored because you've got more units than they've got. They've only got 1 battleship. You've got 2. You've got more fighters than they have. You've got all the bombers coming in.
The bombers.
But yes. So, yeah, Paul is pointing out that the Japan goes first before this cruiser could have come in, but I don't think they'd have gone after it. So, no. So yeah, you're right. So the U.S. would never mind. Japan attacks the fleet before the UK can move in.
Yeah.
So they even have one left.
It sounds like even with that cruiser there, though, you're going to be better than 50% on that one.
Right.
So that's
yeah, just for the front of it, I'll add the cruiser. Yeah, 92% doesn't make much of a difference. Yeah, in
J6, it would have been a must attack.
Yeah.
In that instance, and they would have. So it seems like they've got 95% chance to attack the fleet and take out and then land in Manila. Now that is one thing that is a little trickier.
Yeah.
You're getting there with 3 transports, right? You're getting there with 2 transports.
3. All 3 could have gotten there.
Okay. So, and all 3 American transports presumably would have landed there as well if you were going to go for the VC win. So some of those air units likely would have been needed in the land battle to make sure that was successful.
Might have had to take a bomber in there or something. Maybe a fighter or 2. I don't know.
Because they'd have been landing with 4 infantry and artillery and a tank.
Yeah.
You'd gotten there with 3 infantry and 3 or 4 infantry and artillery and a tank. So yeah, you would need to bring an air unit or 3 to make sure that because that's a must win.
Yeah, I mean, even if I take 2 fighters, 85% chance of winning the fleet battle.
Yeah. All right. So monster game. I think that Eric's got a point here in talking about the move to Belarusia. I think the move to Belarusia may have been ill-advised. I think maybe keeping those guys. I get that you want to go after a victory city, but with the number of tanks that were in the area, I think that you'd been better off to just keep them in the area, keep them in Moscow, keep them in Stalingrad. It would have made it much harder for the UK to or for the Germans to get in there. But
I think a big lesson from this game or thing that I saw a lot is we both caused our opponents to do what we wanted our opponents to do. Both sides did that. And I think that was really good. Gary's fleet in the Atlantic caused America to pause for a round, build there, and not continue the pressure on Japan, right? Like your fleet maneuvers in the Atlantic or in the Pacific caused me to move north and consolidate. Our fanning out and hitting all those areas around Russia caused you guys to fan out and retake all those areas around Russia. And as much as you can get the opponent to do what you want them to do and put their fleets or units or money where you want them to put it, it gives you an advantage. And that I feel like we saw that a lot in this game where we were each getting each other to do things that we wanted our opponent to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I can certainly say it often felt like, the moves that we in our playbook and what we're looking a turn ahead, this is what we'll do by the time we get there. By the time we get there, the option was off the table, either because you physically blocked us with a piece or because you created pressure somewhere else that we had to respond to and not do what we want to be doing.
Yeah.
So everybody, give your best to General Brian Hyde here. He is off. He's going to be deployed now for the next 6 weeks or so. We hope to see him at the spring gathering, so give him your best. He is here this evening, but looks like he's going to be shipping out shortly, so give him your best. We've got a lot of great folks that have been sticking around here in the chat with us over the course of the evening. We really appreciate that. Please go ahead and hit that like button for us. Now's a great time to do that. If you enjoyed content like this, of course, we'll still be editing this piece of madness into the full video. And there's going to be a lot of this, obviously, that doesn't make the final video. And there'll be pieces that I'll probably record separately for voiceover, just to kind of make it a little bit more. We may have Doug or Brian and Adam come in and record a separate piece. So this may not be this will not be what you'll see in the final version. And of course, it's not going to be 6 hours long because that's crazy. So we'll be editing all this together. But like I said, please take a moment to hit that like button. We really, really appreciate it. Brian, take care. Be safe out there. We'll certainly be keeping thought for you. Make sure to send me that message that we talked about before, so we can set that game up. So we'd love to make sure that that's happening. So we will keep a thought for you, and we will look forward to, of course, seeing Brian at the spring gathering. And he and Tracy are also planning to join us at Gen Con to help with the recording and maybe play a game or two while they're out there. See the craziness that is the Planet Gen Con. So we're looking forward to that. And I think we're going to have Brian and Adam there as well, trying to knock off the current world champions, whoever they may be.
That is the goal.
We're forming an anti-Doug and Gary alliance.
Awesome. That's awesome. Well, that's good stuff. All right. So let's come back to here. Here? No, I like this shot better. I built a new thing. I thought this was nice. Okay, so yeah. So this is the show. Any feedback about the show? Other than it's an hour and a half longer than I wanted it to be. Your silence is deafening, gentlemen.
Oh, us?
I thought that was for the comments. Yeah,
I thought that was for the comments too.
Yeah,
sorry, I
once
fell
again,
asleep. It was so long. What did you ask?
I know.
yeah.
What? Did I win? I don't know what happened.
Who won? What happened?
If possible, I had more fun this time than I did last time, and I had a heck of a lot of fun last time.
Awesome.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun as well. I'm not nearly as well spoken as the three of you guys, but I certainly enjoyed it.
Yeah, you did great. All right. Well, awesome. So I don't know whether or not we'll try this again, because this is a long process, and it's complicated, and I don't know that I want to share this much of the secret sauce as to how we put all this together, to be honest. But I hope that this was helpful. I hope people enjoyed it, and it's yes, that's exactly right. It's past Doug's bedtime. It's past Doug's bedtime.
I actually have 5 guys showing up at my house tomorrow morning to play Global early.
Oh.
And I'm like, I'm gonna be like, why don't you guys just put me in charge of Anzac and I'll just like what?
Oh no, you see this is how you train for spring gathering in Gen Con. You gotta play tired.
True, yeah.
Right, you gotta play tired. Yes. Yeah. Are you playing? You're playing Global 42.
Yeah. We're gonna do the tournament rules. Yep.
Cool. Yep. 6 rounds in 5.5 hours. Nailed it. Just like I planned.
That's right.
Natron. What is that? I missed. What does this say? I missed part 1 and most of part 2, so I'll enjoy watching this one clear-eyed. I don't actually understand YouTube as they didn't alert me. Love the channel. Okay, so if you go to the Board Game Nation channel, right, and there's a little bell icon, if you click on that and you say all, then you'll get notifications every time we post something. And sometimes it'll be like a static post, because sometimes I use those to kind of for news, like we're doing this or we're doing that. But it will definitely tell you every time we go live or every time we post a video or anything like that. So subscribe and then hit the bell, and the bell will notify you, or become a member. And that's the same thing as it's the upgraded version of hitting the bell, because then you'll also see every time we do something that's member only. And so we do make the occasional behind the scenes content or like player aids stuff. Sometimes we make available that are just member only pieces. So if that's something you're interested in doing, you're already a member, so you know all about that. So, but make sure that you hit that bell, and it should tell you when we're coming on here. I've been trying to get Doug doesn't drink caffeine. I've been trying to get him to take up coffee for years now. He won't do it.
But it's not like I'm just like, yeah, I'm not doing the no caffeine thing. It gives me migraines. Like, I can't have caffeine.
I do not accept excuses, my friend.
Gary's like, that's not an excuse. Who cares?
You're supposed to be a professional. No, I don't care. It's fine. Yes. No. So yes, we can't. So we'll definitely not be. Oh. All right. So I got a treat for everybody. Everybody that's hung out this long. Has Larry Harris said anything about coming back to Battlefront Dayton? So for those of you who might not know, Board Game Nation also hosts an event in November. Our very first one was November in 2025. It's at the Hope Hotel, which is on the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio. It was a fantastic event last year. We had about 150 people. We had 3 big Axis and Allies tournaments, one for 42 second. Our largest was for anniversary, and then we also had a really big global tournament there. But we also had demos for War Room, Imperial Borders. Matt Hyra was there running demos for Stalingrad, for North Africa. The Invicta Rex guys were there for Song for War. We had General's Fortress out of Kenosha, Wisconsin. Had several games that he presented, which was very cool. So, and our very special guest was the one and only Mr. Larry Harris. And he signed autographs and walked around and talked to everybody, took pictures with everybody. It was very, very cool to have him there. And I spoke with him the other day to see if he might be interested in coming back, and he is. So he is apparently... He's planning to come back to Battlefront Dayton in 2026. He'll be joined by Matt Hyra, who is also coming back again to run demos for his games. We're also looking at a couple of other special guests that I think would be very cool. Tom Haver's going to be back running diplomacy events, and we'll also be running the Heroescape events again. We expect both of those events to grow. We expect the Axis and Allies events to grow. We have found we're going through the process now of building out all of the things that we're going to be doing, and the tournaments and all of that stuff, and gift bags. And I think I found, I don't want to overpromise, but I think I found like the coolest cups ever. And they're not like crazy expensive, and they're better than what we had. I liked what we had last year. I thought they were cool, but they were too small. I honestly thought I was buying 20-ounce cups. They were 12-ounce cups.
The coolest cups ever is a pretty big deal, man. Like,
well, okay, so the coolest cups ever that I can afford. Let me say it that way. That don't break the bank. So I just put them in I got a sample, and it doesn't have like our graphics or whatever on it, but it does have graphics on it. I put it in the dishwasher to see if it would melt. Right? Like I test for the record, like if I put something up on our Etsy store, or if I'm going to use it, or I'm going to like sell it to whatever, like I always buy it and I try it first, right? So like if you see a shirt on the website, I've bought that shirt and I've worn that shirt. It's in my closet. I know that it works. I know that it doesn't shrink. Like I quality test all of that stuff, right? Like because I hate wasting money, so I don't let it. Like if I'm put something the BGN logo on it, I at least hope anyway that it'll be quality. So I found really good cups. So we're looking at that. Looking at the coins again, trying to figure out if that's the thing that we want to do again. How big of a deal were the coins? Did everybody like the coins, or did nobody? Do you want
I'll
another
go there.
coin, or do you want that to be like an inaugural thing?
Oh, let's see. Now that's a tougher one.
Or do you want a collection of, like, if I start having 1, 2, 3 Battlefront events a year, like, do you really want like 15 of these coins? I don't know. Or do you want the one you have just to be really cool?
Yeah.
Yeah, you should do it every 5 years. Like 1,
There you
5, 10. They just get bigger each time. Bigger and bigger coins.
It's dinner plates.
That's right. It's a serving platter.
Year 20, we have to increase the badge prices just for the shipping of the,
That's
like their barbell weights, right? That's what we think. So we're looking at some cool things. I think they're going to be a lot of fun. And I love the fact that Larry's coming back. We just got our copy of Imperial Borders. And so we'll be doing some content about that soon. Like I said, I've got a script already written for something for the commander cards. Everybody's got a lot of questions about how to use them, and it seems a little confusing. So we're going to be making some content about that. So we got a lot of fun things in the pipeline. And of course, I've got the global games set up over there. Robin's going to be helping again. He's already done all the annotations, so I just have to set it all up and take all the pictures. But not until I finish editing this game and the round 2 from the World Championship. We've already shot all of that. I just have to edit it all together. So lots of very cool things on the horizon. And we are still working out the details for Gary and Doug versus the World. I think we're going to be playing 42 Second Edition. We just need to set out the dates and what the exact format will be. So, and hopefully it won't take quite as long. And we're probably not going to do 3 nights a week. I don't know. It might end up taking longer, but it'll be fewer nights a week. So it's a little bit more manageable. But I really want to get it done before Spring Gathering. So we'll figure it out. But we got a lot of fun things coming up. But no, thank you, Tracy, for bringing that up. I wanted to mention that tonight. And there'll be I'll make it like a bigger announcement. But for anybody that's, the 60 people that are still hanging out 3.5 hours into a live stream, you get the extra bonus piece of inside knowledge. So, yes, a big old coin on a gold chain around the neck. We'll go full. We'll go full Flava Flav on it, like the big clock. Walk around. Mm-hmm. Okay, so anything else? Good gravy.
all I can think
No?
of. Good game, fellas. It's fun.
Yeah,
Great
good
game.
guys.
Looking forward to hopefully we get a chance to pair up again at the Spring Gathering in 2026. There's going to be, I will tell you, the field of anniversary players at Spring Gathering is a murderer's row. There's some people that have jumped into that tournament that are long-time, high-level players that Doug and I have never played in anniversary before. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see how it goes. But it should be a lot of fun. We're going to bring a rig and we're going to set up a table like we did last year and record, but we'll do a better job because you saw the footage and the audio. I don't know that we'll be able to do the audio because the room is kind of small and it's really loud in there. So it's hard to get, you heard the audio. And if you saw the round 1 video that we put out, I don't know, September of last year or something, that everybody hated because it was, anyway, because it's hard to follow. Right, so we'll do it again, but we'll bring the 3 cameras like we do at Gen Con, and we'll set it up that way. The original plan was to live stream from that event, and so, but the internet wasn't nearly as fast as it needs to be able to do that. So we end up kind of improvising and trying to do the best we could with the footage that we had. And I will tell you that recreating the game with only 1 camera angle took forever. That was 2 full days of squinting and trying to figure out where this thing was or where that thing was. It took a long time to retake all those pictures, so to rebuild that game. So definitely going to have more cameras and take better notes during the event so that it's easier to annotate later instead of having to try to piece it all together from the video later. But anyway, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time, not just tonight, but last Friday. Thank you for everybody that came on. And again, Gamesmiths.us you can learn more about a great game called Six Empires. And Brian and Tracy will be at Spring Gathering to not only win the 42nd edition tournament, but also help with some of the production as well. So they'll be there to help out. So I'm excited about it, and we got, like I said, we got so much on our plate coming up that it's so much like we got big news in the can that we're still piecing all together so that we can say it all in one piece and have it all make sense, and hopefully everybody gets excited about that. So I'm excited about it. I can't wait to tell everybody about it. But right now, it's I need to stop babbling because I'm gonna get myself in trouble, and I'm out of trouble. That means it's time to go. All right, my friends. Well, thank you so much for the time, and we will. Brian, Adam, you guys are awesome. Don't hang up on me like you did last week. But I'm going to sign off of the live stream, and we really appreciate you guys taking the time to be here, and I hope you guys had a good time.
I had an amazing time. Thank
Had
you
an
for
awesome
letting us be a
time.
part of this. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, everybody. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.
Bye, everybody.
See ya.